Felt better.
Never felt better. I'm fresh. I look great. No bags under my eyes. Voice is in impeccable shape. I'm not feeling like crap at all. I'm not shaky. No, I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
This son of a bitch.
Don't worry about my hand having the shakes. I feel amazing. Let's go.
Well, our fearless co-host has returned from a NorCal swing that I believe started in San Francisco, ended near the California-Nevada border, and good times were had.
Yeah, never go to a secondary crime scene. You know, they tell you that. Like, if something's going to happen, like to you, like someone attacks you, don't let them take you somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
You're right. Like you just secondary location never goes well. If someone's like, "Hey, get in the car,"
It only gets worse from there.
It only gets worse from there.
Yeah,
Wherever
yeah.
you're going, it's going to get worse. So I started in San Francisco, and good times were had. Went down with a buddy of mine. We went down to a Giants game. His lady, through Bank of America, got us hooked up with like the VIP treatment at the Giants stadium.
Yeah,
Giants,
I need to hear about this Gotham club too.
And it's just, I love that. I love San Francisco. It's a great city. And we were both joking because everyone just craps on San Francisco.
Oh,
right?
yeah. That's because there's literally crap all over the ground.
But they've actually, again, I'll give, much like I say about Portland, it's getting better.
Yeah,
like
I
San
have heard
Francisco
that.
look, it's not perfect, but it never was.
And there are going to be pockets that are still terrible and going to remain terrible.
Yeah, you don't go to the Tenderloin, right? It's not like, hey, where do you want to go? Let's go hang out in the Tenderloin. But they had a couple big street festivals going on, and they had a big like World War II memorial thing happening down on the wharf, and then the Giants and Yankees, which is a big deal when that's in town.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, and we were walking around, and we were just joking because my buddy is a conservative guy, right? He's a right wing guy. So obviously, the Fox News people, they're always just crapping on San Francisco, and he was laughing. And he was looking around, and he goes, yeah, I don't see this on Fox News. He goes, they don't show this.
The war zone.
Yeah, it's like 80 degrees, perfect weather. Everyone's out having a good time. Everyone's in shape. And then you like we were joking because it was, if San Francisco is so bad, why does everything cost $8 million there and everyone wants to live there?
Yeah.
Like, oh, what an awful place that everyone is flocking to. So San Francisco is great. And then unfortunately, I went to the secondary crime scene, which was Reno, Tahoe, with a different group to play golf, and it went from there.
You've got to kick him off the tour.
We would have been kicked off the tour. Golf was played.
Yeah, it sounds like you had some pretty nice rounds.
Oh well, Reno Tahoe is there's like some of the best golf in the world. Like,
it's gorgeous. Your ball flies because you're up at elevation, so you can just pound that.
You're
thing.
out there like you're hitting a pitching wedge. You're like 170 out, looks like a wedge. But we played a bunch of really great golf courses, and then golf was more of a vehicle.
Golf was the side mission?
Golf was the side mission. I'm not sure how much serious golf was played. It kind of went from there.
It was a nice kind of background for your canvas.
Background for the game. And it once again proved my theory. I cannot be left without supervision. I would say, like, I go on vacation, and I've got like a 6 to 10 day window. And beyond that, I'm pretty sure I would die. And then my last night...
and what was this, 5 days?
Yes,
so 5 days. If you got to 6, it would have been over.
Yeah, and then the last night, I just went to we went to Reno. We did dinner in Reno, and then they just dropped me off, and I got a little chintzy hotel room there because I had to be up early to take a flight, coming back to Portland for work, and so like they all went back, and it just left me in Reno by myself. I can't be left with no supervision.
I've done that in Vegas by myself, and yeah, it was good that it didn't have more than a day. But I know that you, like you said, you need maybe not a babysitter, but at least
I'm like
a buddy.
And I need
a safe buddy.
I need someone there that's like, hey, is this a good idea? Because otherwise, I'm like it's like a toddler being left alone with like just broken glass and firearms and things that can get lit on fire. A lot of flammable fluid. And they're like, just see what happens. So needless to say, I made it here.
With about 13 minutes to spare, you experienced some travel delays this morning that were out of your control.
Yeah, we sat on the tarmac for like an hour and a half.
There's nothing worse than actually getting on the plane, having that thing start to move, and then you're in the more uncomfortable spot than, why can't you just be sitting back in the airport still?
Oh, they taunted us because we got on the plane, and then we sat at the gate for a while they were dealing with paperwork, and then we pulled out. We were doing the old backup. And that lasted like maybe 2 minutes. And then we stopped and they said, well, we still need to do more paperwork. So that lasted 25 minutes. And then we actually taxied out to the runway, and we're like, oh, cool. And then we stopped on the runway, and I'm like texting Buck the whole time, like, hey, like I think I'm gonna be okay. And then we sat on the actual runway for probably an hour and just sat there. And that's when they came on and was like, yeah, feel free to get up, move around the cabin. They started serving like drinks, and we're like, oh, boy.
Oh, we're gonna be here for a bit.
Yeah, when you start, and then like when everyone gets up, getting everyone to sit back down, again, going back to the whole toddler thing, we as people can't be trusted. Like they come on, and this is after like an hour plus of sitting there, and they're like, hey, we're ready to go. We just need you to sit down. It took us 20 minutes to sit down.
I can't stand that when it's like, you know it's coming from a mile away.
Yeah,
We're gonna, once they are ready, we need to be ready.
Yeah.
It's drives me crazy. It used to drive my parents crazy when my brother and I would do that. They're like, all right, we're leaving in this much time. And you're like, okay, cool, we'll be ready. And then they're like, we're ready to go. And we're like, oh, we're not.
And I'm just sitting there with just like a 5-day hangover. And I'm just hating myself. And just with every annoying passenger that was like, it was like nails on a chalkboard.
Grating on you.
I was trying. I just sat there, like put my head down. I literally was like, just had my head flat against the tray table, just trying not to absorb any sort of negative energy for fear that like I would snap on someone.
Yeah, that's a situation where noise canceling headphones could save lives.
Yeah, it was just like, it was God's like flashlight shining on me, telling me that again, my decision making is horrid. But great times were had. I did not lose any credit card roulettes, which was amazing.
A huge win, especially if you were playing a lot.
Boy, I'll tell you what. You get up to some, because we usually at night we'd go out to a fairly nice restaurant, and boy, you get, again, some of the corkage fees. We were bringing our own wine. Boy, a couple of those were serious bills. And if you ever want to see a grown man cry, you get to a bill that's got more than three that's got more than three numbers in front of it, and watch his credit card get pulled. Ooh.
It's that, or if the first one was, you're able to stomach, if that first one was palatable, but that same guy gets it on the very next one too. That's a brutal one.
And people are scheming. I had one buddy that's like, hey, I think I'm gonna put my debit card because it's plastic. And he goes, I think they're gonna pick one of the heavy metal cards. Everyone's got like
he's got a game plan.
Yeah,
I love it.
People are like scheming. He's like, there's no way, right? There's no way they're picking
you pick up the heavier, like the thicker card, right?
Right, the thicker card. So like people are scheming. Everyone was watching each other because every time someone got up to go to the bathroom, we were assuming that someone was going to tip the waiter $100 to not pull their card. So then, like when the waiter is pulling them, we're like, no.
You're sending surveillance to the bathroom.
Yeah, we're like everyone was suspicious, and we're like, no, I want it behind the back. Like you pull it in front of us.
No funny business. No tomfoolery.
No funny. It was getting intense. So
well, we did have your eventual replacement waiting in the wings. If you had met your demise in Tahoe, Mini Sook was ready to hop right in, and here he is again. Another SOB edition of Primetime today. Although instead of Schultz, it's a Sook, Ortner, and Buck edition. Willie, how we doing?
I cannot imagine having a check that came that had more than 3 numbers on it. That is the most terrifying thing that I have ever heard.
And then potentially being on the hook for said check.
But when someone else pulls it, it's just hilarious. Like to watch one man just be devastated and like the 6 others just
And it's got to be one of those two where you don't want to celebrate too hard, dance on the other's grave.
Oh no, we're dancing on graves. 100%. We're dancing on graves.
Got a lonelier feeling in the world than watching your 5 friends laugh at you because you're paying for their dinner.
And then after like the big one, and then there was bitter feelings because after the big draw, then a couple people were like, "No, dude, we're not doing this again." Just like I'm out. Like I'm not playing. We're not doing this. And
then the person who drew the
yeah,
short star last time was like, "Hey, I need to be able to draw even here. Come on."
What are you talking about? We ended up a place that everyone's ordering beef Wellington, and it was kind of one of those situations. And like people were just like, "Nope, I'm out. I don't care what you can be as angry as you want. We ain't drawing that card." No, everyone's paying their fair share.
That's poor form. Once you start, you can't back out now. That's poor form.
Now, which Giants-Yankees game did you go to?
We went to, that was on Saturday. So that was the one where Judge hit the home run in the first inning. Damn near hit it out of the stadium.
Yeah, that was the one the announcers were saying, at least for a right-hander in that park, they've never seen a ball hit out there.
I thought he was going to, if you know the Oracle Park, they've got a big Coke bottle and a big giant glove out in left field. Mm-hmm. And when Judge hit it, and it was first inning, I really did. I thought he was going to hit the glove. Mm-hmm. The left fielder didn't move. He just and like the entire crowd and everyone hates Judge because he's from the Bay Area. He was going to sign,
Considered going there.
and he didn't. So every time Judge comes up, the crowd just hisses. They're just booing him. And boy, he hits that moonshot and just pin drop. And then the Yankee fans. That's the other weird one. There's so many Yankee fans. There was because the game got close at the end.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants kind of pulled even, and then the Yankees broke it open like in the seventh. But there was a couple "Let's Go Yankee" chants where you thought you were in Yankee Stadium. Those damn Yankee
It's
fans.
weird, man. They
are
travel and they
everywhere.
travel hard.
Yeah, so it was cool. I mean, to get to go down and do the whole. You got your own little bar down there, and it's if you've ever been to like the Diamond Club up in Seattle, every stadium has their own little kind of version of that. I like going to see baseball games, and that's such a cool park, and it makes me jealous because I think about like that's right there on the wharf, on the waterfront.
You've got the makings for that here.
You just think about it. We got the Memorial Coliseum right there, right? Just no offense to the vet, but build the Veterans Aid actual real memorial. Tear that thing down. Build the damn stadium there. Hitting balls into the Willamette. I mean, come on. Every time I go down there, I think to myself, we have such a piss poor use of our water. Like we have a river running right through the middle of our city.
Yeah, baseball stadium notwithstanding, there could be so much more done with the Portland
And
waterfront.
we do fill it with poop.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We fill it with poo.
Yay.
So
and we
we
cover
use
it with bridges. Like, can we please do something to see everyone out there and all the boats and people kayaking up to it? It's just I love that stadium, and San Francisco's a cool town, despite what everyone kind of craps on it. But I feel that way about Portland. Everywhere I go, people are like, "Oh, you're from Portland. Like it's a hellscape." I'm like, actually, no. I was out 3 times last week, and it's quite lovely.
Well, it's good to hear. I have not been back in San Francisco in quite some time, and I've heard plenty of negative things. So I like hearing that it's maybe a little bit overblown what the reputation has become.
Yeah, and it's any city you go to, any big city that has a couple million people in it. Guess what? You're gonna have problems.
And
There's gonna be homeless.
Can easily find the bad, seedy, gnarly parts of that city.
But San Francisco has some of the best. It's the biggest Chinatown, I believe, in the United States. It's the best Chinese food you're going to get. Some of the best Italian food you're going to get. The city is extremely walkable, and whatever you want to get into, from wholesome to otherwise, it's all there. The only downside to it is, again, it's one of the most expensive cities, which I also laugh at. Again, going back to my point is, if it's such a terrible place, why does everyone want to live there? Oh, no, New York is a cesspool, and yet everyone wants to live there. I would never live in LA. Yeah, well, 13 other million people would. You know where people aren't living? Omaha. It's like, oh man, it's middle of the country, Omaha. Cool, move there. You can get a house there for like 7 stalks of corn and some possum teeth. So no offense to Omaha, but I just love when everyone just talks about how crappy the West Coast cities are. Move to the Midwest then.
Yeah, and
plenty of spaces.
And if it were that bad, yes, there has been an exodus from some of those cities, but not to the degree that people have said they're going in droves.
Me and my buddies have never once been like, hey, you know where you guys want to go for the weekend? Huh? Tulsa. And let's go get wild in Tulsa. No, we're not getting loose in Tulsa. You know what? I'll take San Francisco and then a puddle jumper on over to Reno. And one of the courses we played, Incline, I guess the vice president of Playboy for like 30 years has a house there.
Okay.
Most stunning house you've ever seen. And his wife likes to come out and say hi to the golfers. And it's
Former model?
yes.
Yeah, so he met her through work.
Yeah, met her through work. And let me just bravo, sir. Thank you.
She's doing the Lord's work.
Oh, just everything. You have a beautiful setup there. It's an amazing setup right there. You're on like number 11. You look up and you're like, that's all good right there. It's amazing.
Speaking of beautiful setups, we are at some point today going to get through all the things that Souk missed over the last week. There are a handful of them, 2 of them specifically up north in Edmonton as the Oilers are getting ready to go on to the Stanley Cup. We've got some NBA Finals Game 1 talk. It's finally here. And then additionally, one prominent sports insider getting rich off misinformation. We'll talk about that. And what may be possibly the greatest 2-week stretch in football viewing history. We'll fill you in on the details. But coming up next, we have to get to the Lakers coaching search. It seemed like all arrows were pointing to J.J. Redick until they weren't. That's next on 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube, Twitch,
California swing that seemed to include some golf and a lot of many, well, what would we call it?
I had a good time.
Good times were had. Good times were had. Want to get into the sports story of the day a little bit here with our poll question. It's, of course, brought to you by AAA Heating and Cooling, a family business run by family for families for over 60 years. And today's AAA Heating and Cooling poll question comes by way of a little bit of a 180 from the Los Angeles Lakers. We were hearing the end of last week and into the beginning of this week that they were circling J.J. Redick as their next head coach. It was becoming an almost foregone conclusion until we got a Woj bomb this morning around 4 a.m. that, let's stop the presses, Dan Hurley is the coach they're making a huge offer for, or putting together an offer for. Hurley has since talked to his team and said, yes, I'm talking to the Lakers. So your poll question today is, who would win the most games as the head coach of the Lakers next season? J.J. Redick, Dan Hurley, LeBron James, or Chauncey Billups?
Well, the interesting thing about this one is simply that LeBron James. Like, how many coaches have they been through? I think this is their 5th coach in the 7 years that LeBron has been there. And, you know, we kind of gloss over this, and I know it was the COVID season, but they did win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like sometimes we kind of bag on the Lakers because it's easy to bag on them, but he did come to LA and win a title. I don't care if there's an asterisk behind it because it was in the bubble. The son of a gun won a championship in LA. So regardless of what happens, that guy's run in LA has been successful.
Definitely.
I mean, that's all when
you bring him there to win a championship,
he
and you
did.
have done that.
Yeah, if Lillard had gone to, well, I mean, had he gone anywhere, but if he wins a title in Milwaukee and then nothing else happens, mission accomplished. Kawhi goes to Toronto, wins a title, mission accomplished, right? Like Dirk wins one in Dallas, mission accomplished. But with LeBron, we're like, well, you know, he hasn't been back since. Well, it's hard. It's hard to win a championship. And the guy's 40 years old, but he does go through coaches like Kleenex.
So this will be LeBron's 4th coach in LA. When he started there, it was Luke Walton, then it was Frank Vogel, then Darvin Ham, and now this will be
okay.
number
So
4.
I thought it was 5. So
because LeBron got there in 2018, and Luke Walton had taken over in 2016. So
Okay.
Luke Walton got fired the next year. Then it was Vogel through the pandemic years, and then Darvin Ham after Vogel.
Let's see too that I think they said since Phil. By the way, that Phil Jackson, long time. There has not been a Laker coach that's made it over 3 years.
Yeah, I'm seeing here no Laker coach since Phil Jackson has coached over 250 games.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like,
it's
a marquee job, but also it's one of those jobs that comes with expectations, especially when LeBron's there because, you know, he's 40 years old. And I know I saw Rick Bucher kind of was throwing some shade at LeBron, saying that at his age, he's so concerned with making sure his stats look good. And by the way, like, no one has played this well at his age. Like, not Kareem, no one. Like,
right.
He's in uncharted territory. But Bucher brought up a point, I think it's a valid point, that LeBron isn't necessarily willing to play team basketball. LeBron needs the team to be catered around him so that he can look as good as possible. And, you know, there's something to catering to LeBron James. He's still an amazing player, but he brought up, like, in the this was on Colin's show. He brought up when they played Denver, he thought that the best option would have been to have LeBron play Jokic. You know, that you saw what Reed did.
Nas Reed.
Reed. Mm-hmm. And that LeBron maybe could have done something like that with Anthony Davis lurking behind, but that LeBron isn't interested in doing that. He's not the defender that he used to be, and he still wants the numbers to be good. So it's this weird situation where if you're trying to cater to LeBron James, and this goes everything from the coach you select to maybe taking his kid. I love how his kid is somehow involved in every. I read like 3 articles today about Hurley coming there, and they all mentioned his dumbass kid. And like, could he help with the development of Bronny James?
Oh, my God.
How stupid is it that we are literally talking about hiring a coach, and one of the main points is he could grow and develop the 55th overall selection in the NBA draft? I mean, it's foolishness. But that's the weird thing that goes with LeBron. He is this planet unto himself, and everything else, like his gravitational pull is so much. But then you're talking about a college guy that is known for going balls to the wall, mashes the gas, yells and screams.
How is that going to work? I'm just thinking stylistically with where LeBron is in his career. Does he want Dan Hurley screaming in his face every time he doesn't make a decision that works with Dan Hurley's offense?
Exactly. So this is why I'm wondering, like, if everything revolves around LeBron, and we all know that it has, for the last 7 years, everything that happens in LA is to placate LeBron James, even if it's to the detriment of the team, which was Bucher's point, right? even when it's not necessarily the best thing for the team.
And a lot of times it's not coaches, it's other players.
It's other
he wants to
players.
get certain guys, and then they
Yes.
overpay, and then that guy doesn't work out, and then they're in the hole with either draft picks or too much money committed.
So now I'm wondering, like, if they hire Dan Hurley, obviously they're not hiring Dan Hurley because LeBron can opt out. They're not hiring Hurley unless LeBron gives it the stamp of approval. And
Right, and they're not hiring him to tank or to rebuild, right?
So
You wouldn't think.
It's just bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. So I can't, to answer that question, does Dan Hurley win more games than Chauncey Billups or JJ Redick or LeBron James as the coach? It's so weird because Redick has no coaching experience whatsoever.
None.
Chauncey Billups has done jack squat up there, although,
But we don't really know how to judge him yet.
it's such a weird thing. And it makes me wonder if the Lakers in some weird way are kind of like the Dallas Cowboys where they're successful, it's the big brand, but are they kind of a mess? Like the saving grace is that LeBron won them that title, but if LeBron hadn't won that, and you look back at what's happened since Kobe left LA, it has been a big soap opera drama mess. And now you're bringing in the most high-profile college coach, maybe the most volatile college coach going in the game.
The coach who screams at other fans. Like this, the NBA doesn't want a coach who screams at fans.
Screams at fans, screams at officials, admits that
Other coaches, other players.
I'll tell you what, I'm here for it. If that happens, sign me up because
Add another ring to the circus. Absolutely.
The NBA is all about, and by the way, the WNBA is following right down this path.
Oh, that we'll get into that in what Sook missed.
The NBA is nothing more than the Real Housewives on the basketball court. It is just one big drama-fueled mess, and I can't think of a bigger pot stir than bringing in Dan Hurley and dropping him in the middle of 40-year-old LeBron James and then drafting his dumbass kid.
Well, and you're dealing
overall.
with often injured Anthony Davis. You think he's going to let Anthony Davis say, "Ooh, like my rib hurts" or whatever?
I cannot wait for game like 52 and Anthony Davis is like, "Yeah, I don't feel so good." And Dan Hurley just dresses him down. Yeah, like yell at LeBron James. There was another one that I read today in one of the articles saying that despite perceptions, LeBron James actually really likes being coached hard and being held accountable.
Okay.
Okay. That's what they said about Dame, too, until you actually got someone in that started yelling at me. He didn't like it. You're telling me that 40-year-old LeBron James is going to get yelled at by, 50-year-old?
Yeah, everyone likes the kind of culture that brings until they're getting put in their place inside of that culture.
Isn't this just the basketball version of Nick Saban going to Miami?
Yes.
A little bit.
That's what this is.
Yeah, I think you're right on
The
that.
exact same thing.
And I remember one of the great stories about that is because Joey was on some of those Miami teams.
Oh, yeah?
Zach Thomas, I think Zach Thomas is in the Hall of Fame now. Great linebacker, just, fire plug. If you don't know who Zach Thomas is, look it up. Dude was a man's man.
He's a beast.
And Nick Saban is a notorious red ass at practice. And Zach Thomas would taunt him, and he would call him Nicky. He would call him Nicky, like he would be yelling at the defense to do something, and Zach would be like, "Okay, Nicky, all right, you gonna make me run, Nicky?"
It's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, he would taunt him, and it would drive Saban crazy. And Dante Culpepper threatened to fight him. Dante Culpepper threatened to fight him because Saban tried to put in. It might have been Joey, or maybe I forget who the other quarterback was there. Saban tried to put him in during one of the drills, and Culpepper wouldn't come out. Culpepper was gonna fight Nick Saban, and Saban didn't know what to do. So Saban just turned his back and tried to ignore him. I
Just hope he doesn't punch him in the back or the back of the head.
I am all for this. I want Dan Hurley to come to
Although,
LA.
could you also say this is what happened when the 49ers pulled Harbaugh out of Stanford?
Well,
and
look,
that one did work.
And well, to be fair, Billy Donovan had some success.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens had some success.
It's not that it can't work. It's just not guaranteed to work.
But Brad was a very calm, demeanored X's and O's guy.
Yeah,
very,
way
very
easier
measured.
going. Yeah.
Donovan was pretty fiery. Quinn Snyder had some
Oh,
success.
yeah,
So we've seen it, but boy, there is a lot of flameouts, Rick Pitino. We've
Yep.
seen a lot of people come from that college background, but they tried it with Coach K and he refused.
Mhm.
But I think this will start happening more and more because if you're Hurley, and by the way, they're not in the Big Ten, they're not in the SEC,
And he's got more leverage right now than he ever will, winning back-to-back championships.
I don't think any coach that has the option wants anything to do right now with college. They don't want. We've seen college football coaches leave to take assistant jobs in the NFL. I don't think any coach right now, if they have a choice, wants anything to do with college, and that includes her. He's gone. He will be the coach. The fact that he's like, oh yeah, I'm listening. They're just working on how much effing money they can throw at that guy.
Mm-hmm.
how much leverage he can get, how much guaranteed, he's gone. He does not want to deal.
The fact that he's already spoken with his team
Yeah, he doesn't wanna do it.
makes me. I mean,
And think about that. Like and to this day and age you're in right now, you have to deal with NIL, you have to deal with the transfer portal, which he's already openly said he hates. And now if you're UConn, you got to come up with revenue sharing. UConn is as great a program it is, and it's the best basketball program in the last 30 years.
Yep. And they're on top of the mountain right now.
But it's a budget thing now.
Yeah.
And when other schools are bringing in $90 million a year, and UConn from the Big East is doing what? Look, it's a dollars and cents thing. He's gone. You mark my words. I bet you in 4 days.
He might be gone by the time we're off the air today.
Yeah, he'll be the next Laker coach because they're going to give that dude 13, 14, 15 million a year, 5 years guaranteed, probably some personnel decisions. LeBron will sign off on it, and he's just going to say, hey, thanks for the transfer portal and NIL and the rest of it, and I'm going to go coach the Lakers. And if it doesn't work out, oh well, I'll take my $80 million and I'll go coach Kentucky.
I can't wait until they get into a big key moment, and just like the national championship game, he pushes LeBron.
Oh, God.
Like, get in the right spot, LeBron.
Yeah.
Dude, buckle up, dude. This thing is going to be – this will be must-see TV, him on the sidelines. How many texts is that guy going to run up?
It should be a good watch if that is, in fact, the way the Lakers are going with Dan Hurley. Want to talk about another element of this, though. The second time in about a year that we have seen an insider move some betting lines. Are we talking about a Nancy Pelosi situation over here with Shams Charania? We'll get into that next. But first, Will with the Sports Center update. their next coach. Sounds like they are just getting the bag together and figuring out how much cash they're going to stuff in it for him.
There's going to be a lot of it. I mean, if you're Hurley, you've got a lot of leverage because that just means LA's desperate. Like, no offense, but if you're deciding between JJ Redick and Dan Hurley, you're desperate at this point, and they are going to throw a ton of money at him, and he'll take it.
I saw a funny conspiracy theory that the Lakers were vetting JJ Redick by going through his podcast, and when they came upon the conversation of Redick and LeBron talking about how genius Dan Hurley is going into the national championship game and how his offense is something that could absolutely work in the NBA, that JJ just gave away his job to Dan there. But what I am interested in, seriously, and I don't know behind closed doors how this all went, if it seemed like Hurley was an option that was off the table until he wasn't, but I'm wondering where the smoke came from on JJ Redick. And the first person we heard about that from was Shams.
Yeah.
And we need to remember again that Shams has a deal with FanDuel. And now this is the second time in a year that he's put out pretty bombshell breaking news that didn't end up being the case.
Yeah.
You remember going into the last NBA draft, he said there was a ton of steam on the Charlotte Hornets taking Scoot Henderson at number 2. Those lines moved drastically, and then they moved back when it was reported, actually, no, they're zeroing in on Brandon Miller. So
there's a lot of people that are starting to wonder
and the thing is,
if maybe Shams is compromised.
if you're doing something like this in plain sight, it would be pretty easy to catch, we would think, at least based on what we've seen with some other idiots getting caught gambling in sports. But at the same time, like, where do you, I guess my question for you is, where do you draw the line as far as what is, you don't want to tell this guy, oh, you can't make money off of, whatever it is you do. But when you're in bed with the sports books and you're reporting news, you're definitely blurring that line.
It's weird. And this is one of those things that when gambling became illegal, we knew there was going to be some of this, because it's all information based, right? And I don't know why we haven't really come to this point before. But any insider from, was it like maybe Chris Mortensen was the first NFL insider that I really remember. John Clayton was one, and then Schefter became it. And then the NBA, like Peter Vesey back in the day was an inside guy. And
I feel like Tim Kirkjian and Buster Olney maybe
baseball,
for a while.
Yeah, for those guys. And some of those guys I really like. Some of them not so much, but like you give all the, like, I
think David Aldridge in the NBA was that way.
Yeah. And like you respect them. And then some of them they're an eye roll to me, but we all know any information they get, I don't know why this is so hard for people to comprehend. They don't get information because they're like great reporters
or because the Lakers front office told them.
They get information because people want them to have it.
Yeah.
So,
gets leaked out on purpose via these people, these reporters.
So we know that agents, we know that teams, we know that players, we know that all of these entities give information to reporters because they want their side out. Adam Schefter got caught checking with, I think it was Dalvin Cook's agent, if I'm not mistaken, checking with Dalvin Cook's agent saying, hey, I'm about to release this because
he drafted his tweet and said, is this okay?
Is this okay?
And then he tweeted it.
Yeah, because Dalvin Cook was being accused of domestic violence. And Schefter was basically saying, hey, Dalvin Cook is innocent. Look at this. And he sent it to the agent. He's like, hey, is this
going to be up to muster for you? And you're getting the approval of the person in question.
So is it that hard to think that someone at FanDuel or someone puts that information out to Shams, and whether Shams knows that he's moving lines specifically or not?
And that may not be part of the game, but there was something that motivated him enough to put that piece of information out there. And if you're to believe Woj, who came with the Hurley news, Woj says that Hurley was the Lakers guy from the start.
From the start. It is such a wonky thing, these insiders, because they're all compromised. I don't care who you are. Woj, Shams, Schefter, any of those guys. I don't care how respected, and like John Clayton, rest in peace. And Mortensen, by the way. Two of the most respected guys to ever do it. If you don't think for 1 second that those guys were shills and mouthpieces for people, I don't know what to tell you. This doesn't surprise me. And you got to be careful because I'm telling you, Shams, who has become, I think he's equal. Like when you talk about NBA breaking news, right? It's a Woj bomb or it's Shams.
Yep.
Like it's one of those two guys.
1A, 1B, it feels like.
1 and 1B. And boy, I even know people that I talk to in our area here are starting to kind of look at Shams and get a little bit of that side eye and be like, really, man?
Like who's driving the narrative, who's driving the information.
And so I don't know if there'll be any backlash, but I think this.
And I don't know if it'll have anything to do with FanDuel either, but it's just odd the way that this story
looks bad. It looks bad
because the story got a lot of momentum. The JJ Redick thing. It wasn't just like it was something that like a Reddit account threw against the wall, and then it was like, oh, we can corroborate that Redick was at the building or something. It was a credible source with
bad.
A real thing, and now it seems like that there wasn't any substance to it. So
I think it is really weird because as a team, you have to be real careful blurring the line with gambling.
Yeah.
But to be fair, right? Teams and owners are in bed. Like you go to any stadium, right? And you see DraftKings, you see FanDuel stuff. Owners of professional teams have stakes in those things.
I was telling Will before the show, I was watching a game this playoffs. I didn't even know that it existed. An alternate gambling cast for the NBA playoffs approved by the league, in which you have 2 professional gamblers and 2 former professional basketball players talking about live betting the entire game. They're beyond in bed with them. They're leveraging them.
I just think it's awkward. And look, we've done stuff for the Oregon Lottery, and then that obviously turned into DraftKings, and we've read ads for them. I'm not a reporter. Right? Like I'm not an NBA insider. I'm not an NFL insider. We're entertainers, right? We're paid for 4 hours a day to come on here and try to have some interesting discussions, try to give you some little tidbits to think about, maybe have some laughs with Uncle Chuckles over here. Like it's an entertainment thing that we're basing around sports. If I was the Blazers beat reporter, right? If I was Jason Quick back in the day, or I was, Freeman, or whoever, Dwight back in the day, whoever was on the beat, I personally would feel very, very uncomfortable being a DraftKings sponsor. I think what Shams does, I think it's very, very.
It's kind of dicey.
I think it's weird. I just and I know you're allowed to do it, but there's just some things where the optics of it
don't sit right.
They don't sit right. Yeah. And maybe Shams, this is a non-factor and he doesn't care, and the dude makes a bunch of money and he's going to make a bunch of money from DraftKings. I just know that when you cross a line and people start questioning credibility, boy, it's a dicey thing, man. It's a real dicey thing, especially if people stop giving you information because they feel like you are no longer an effective mouthpiece, right? Because remember, all these guys are mouthpieces. And if someone stops feeding you the info because they think that when they do, the gig is up and people are going to start looking at him and it's going to get all squirrely, he just better be careful.
Well, the other thing too is
it doesn't look good.
If this happens again, the credibility's shot. I mean, do you start to just not believe when a Shams bomb comes out because of the fact and now there have been a couple instances where maybe there's something not to believe anymore.
I certainly have. It's starting. I'm not saying I'm there where I roll my eyes, but it certainly is no longer something when I see, like, my first reaction isn't, oh my God, like, I can't believe this. My first reaction is, I wonder who wants that out. I wonder where this is coming from.
Well, coming up a little bit later in the show, going to recap a few things Suk missed while he was gone, including everything that's happened in the WNBA. Get excited for that. Additionally,
I love
where this has gone.
It is an absolute embarrassment.
It's a hellscape.
The way that we are covering and talking about the WNBA right now.
I have an analogy for that later. We'll see if you think it fits. Additionally, I want to introduce you to what may be the best 2-week stretch in football viewing history. That'll be upon us this holiday season. And additionally, would you please leave that dead whale alone? That's coming up in the news. But first, before we get to any of that, we're like 2 games in and the USA has already created a superpower. That's next on The Fan.
It's back.
He said they need to bomb the whale. Bombing the whale will come up in our In the News updates.
I have been saying for weeks now, blow that thing up.
I think
It's
you could
ridiculous.
have made a big event
It's
about
the
it.
same whale?
It's the same
whale.
No, well, it's not the same one from the 70s, but it's the same whale that washed
Right.
up. Yeah.
Everything's been
I-
sitting there for
I
like a
know.
long time now, rotting. What are we doing?
Blow it up.
Dynamite that son of a gun. Let's go. Make a parade out of it.
I have an update from Oregon State Parks for you later
They
in
finally
the show.
wised up and they're going to blow it up, I hope.
But first, we need to get to apparently America becoming a superpower once again.
America.
It's what we do.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't learn until I saw this notification headline today that the United States even had a cricket team. Did you know that we had a cricket team?
Of course. You kidding me?
I did not.
I'm all about USA cricket. What are you talking
I know it's an international sport. I know that we also sometimes like to put ourselves in situations where we are not necessarily familiar and just do it because everyone else is doing it.
I have tried over the years, and by the way, I'm not being facetious about this. This is 100% serious. I have tried when I lived over in Europe. Cricket's a huge deal over there.
Mhm.
I made a active effort to try to understand cricket. I have no idea, and I know they've changed it now to like try to make it like less.
Oh, they
like,
have. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it used to like a match used to go on for like 3 days, and now they've like kind of like they do it with like rugby. They do like rugby sevens. Like they've tried to like shrink it down to make it like a more fan friendly thing. I, for the life of me, have no idea what's going on in cricket. I know that you're trying to knock over the wickets, and I know the other dude can hit it wherever he wants, but I will occasionally see cricket on TV, and I will sit down and be like, all right.
I'm going to get it this time.
If I watch for like 15 minutes, I'll figure out what's going on. No freaking idea, other than apparently we're the greatest cricket team in the world.
Well, and that's the thing is I, like you, have very much wanted to understand it. There's not been a single person who knows the sport or even an article that I find online that's the equivalent of an elevator pitch. I need 2 minutes on how you do it.
Well, like it's not
And
most every other sport. It's somewhat like football is probably the most complex.
Sure.
And because when I was same thing when I was in NFL Europe, we would hold clinics where we would try to
Teach the rules of the game.
teach the rules of the game.
Mhm.
And I will admit that was a little rough. That was a little
I
rough.
bet.
You got a bunch of Scots and Brits, and you're like, yeah, you can only have this many guys on the line, and you're trying to explain them. We have a bunch of dumb rules, so American football is similar to cricket in that it's stupid and it makes no sense to someone that didn't grow up with it. But I'm with you. I can't grasp it. I've tried to read the rules. I've tried to have someone explain it to me, and nothing. It just, like my tiny American brain, it just doesn't work. I can't comprehend it.
So this was the T20 World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
And the U.S. was playing Pakistan, who 2 years ago in the World Cup was a finalist. They made it all the way to the final.
The other thing I know about cricket, India and Pakistan,
Very good.
dominating.
Yes.
Which also I find interesting because no offense to Pakistan, but everything I've seen about Pakistan, not necessarily athletic powers. I've never once watched the Olympics and been like, oh man, the Pakistanis, they're coming for you.
They don't instill a lot of fear usually
No.
when it comes to the sporting grounds.
No.
That's for sure.
But they're great cricket players.
They're outstanding cricket players. I'll give you a little taste of what the end of that, I think they call it a match, sounded like.
Keep something behind the line. The red, white and blue of USA has overcome the 2022 finalists. The stars and stripes are flying high and proudly in Dallas, Texas. Led by their captain with the bat, Monang Patel and his men create history. And against all odds here at the Grand Prairie Stadium.
USA. Hell yeah. Take that, Pakistan.
So as I'm reading more about it, we were debutantes in this tournament, as in first-timers, and we were hosting the tournament on U.S. soil in Texas,
We
and we kicked their asses.
How great is it that we took like someone's national sport, the one thing that they hold on to and near and dear over there, and we just threw out like our first ever match. Like, I don't know. By the way, Greg Oden plays for it. If you've seen Elmore Hutchinson, I'm telling you, Greg Oden changed his name and he plays on the USA
We got
cricket
an
team.
Odin doppelganger in the cricket game?
Yeah, we got like a Sean Kemp and a Greg Oden doppelganger. He's just like, apparently that's where we're going with cricket. But we just got a bunch of dudes and we're like, I don't know, let's go play some cricket. And we beat one of the best teams on U.S. soil.
So I wanted to be
Cricket
able
thing's a piece of cake.
I wanted to be able to talk somewhat eloquently about what happened here, or at least pretend that I knew. Let me just read you a brief synopsis and tell me if you can get anything out of this.
No. I'm telling you right now, the answer to this is no.
It feels like I'm not even reading about sports. I'm reading about something else. USA muzzled an experienced Pakistan top order, brought their hitters to heel, then produced a measured batting performance that tied the scores at 159 all. This forced the game into a super over. I'm guessing that's like overtime, maybe?
I think the overs are like innings. I
So,
think that's
so
what
a
it
super
is.
inning?
I don't know.
Maybe?
Maybe an extra inning, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure an over is when each side hits. I think that's an over. I think that's like the 1 inning.
Okay.
Are we sure they just didn't go over the total points that were supposed to be scored in this?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe they doubled it.
It says Pakistan's most experienced bowler bowled three wides in the super over.
Oh, yeah,
The
3
U.S.
wides, that's
batters
big.
stealing another run every time, and Muhammad Rizwan conceded another extra run on an overthrow off the last of these wides.
Rizwan, you can't do that, man.
No.
That's poor form.
Thanks to the
good
extras
with
and
the
other
ladies.
acts of fielding indiscipline from Pakistan, USA made 18 off their super over. If this already seemed a tough task for Pakistan to better, Sarab Netravalkar made their job even more difficult. He had been outstanding for USA in regular play, taking 2 for 18 from his 4 overs. His super over was outstanding too, as he conceded just 1 boundary. Huh?
I have no idea. I looked at the final score and it's 159-7 to 159-3. What?
So you know what? Maybe that is like it is like going to overtime. Like we're saying it was tied at 159, and then in the extra period, like you know how tennis sets they go like 6-6, but then they do the tiebreak games.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like that.
But why is the USA 159-3 and Pakistan 159-7?
Do you want the number to be low?
What?
Low man wins.
Is that what that is? I
don't know.
assume that 115. If I told you, hey, I got 159-7 and you got 159-3, I think 157-7 wins. But in this case, not so much. And by the way, I didn't understand a damn word you said in that entire recap.
Yeah, well, thanks to 4 leg buys off the 4th leg delivery,
Leg buys.
Shabad Khan had the opportunity to send the match into a second super over. If he clobbered a 6 off the last ball, he could only hit to deep point all along the ground, sparking jubilation for the USA.
It really does blow my mind. It's the one sport I cannot comprehend.
I'm not even confused. I don't know where to start.
Yeah, like people say, "Oh, I don't understand soccer." Dude, soccer is the easiest sport to understand. Like the offsides, that's the whole Ted Lasso thing. Offsides is it's the simplest thing. Like you can't go behind the last person till the ball is kicked. Like it's easy. People are like, "Oh, hockey, icy." No, you can't throw the puck past 2 red lines. There's a blue line. You can't go in there until the puck goes in there. They're very simple things. The only one that you could compare it to is, again, American football, if you got details. But if we gave a synopsis
I've
of
heard
American
people say baseball too, like what's a tag play versus a force play, that can be confusing. But
even then, it's pretty simple. You know, hit a ball, guy goes around, crosses the plate, that's a run.
try to stop him from doing it.
And you get 3 of those. What super overs, and I still can't understand the fun. And that's the other one. If I told you a baseball score, the Yankees and the Mariners were playing, and it was 7-8. It's who won? 7-8. Whoever the team scored 8, right? I can't look at the cricket score and understand it.
Yeah, you
when
wouldn't
the
necessarily.
final score is confusing, then your sport is confusing.
If you only got the score, you would probably look at it and think the U.S. lost.
Well, you know what? We didn't.
We did not.
So this is only going to fuel the
Cricket superpower, the United States of America.
the stupid American that's like, man, if we just put our best players, it'd be the best today's sport.
Fastest growing sport.
We fast growing sport in America, cricket. Yeah, just next thing you know, and by the way, that's going to be such a rich kid sport. There'll be I guarantee you right now, there's some snot-nosed brat Lake Oswego that's putting down his lacrosse stick. He's like, lacrosse is so 2010.
I'm gonna be a national hero.
We're gonna play cricket and we're gonna start playing highlight. That's gonna be the new thing.
Another game I know nothing about but looks fun.
If I put all the cricket players out in front of you and then like 4 or 5 random people, do you think you could figure out at least which ones play cricket?
Okay, just pick the Indian guy. They're all look. I'm not trying to be racist here, but look at the USA cricket team. What was all the Saeed Abdullah? Right?
Shabad Khan.
Yeah,
Shadab Khan.
I got Fahad Barbar. Like, come on, it's not that hard. Now, if you put a bunch of people from the Middle East, that would be more confusing. But if you lined up a bunch of like professional athletes, I'm like, yeah, cricket. And
Oh
they're
yeah,
not-
they signed that brown guy, and then I went right past it.
the only one that confuses me is when you go with the Greg Oden doppelganger. You're like, why is Greg Oden playing cricket? Although the length probably causes some problems. I just know you're trying to knock over the wickets. The little guy bowls it, but whenever I watch cricket, no one ever knocks over the things. Dudes are just hitting that thing for like an hour straight.
And you don't have to hit it in like fair territory. You can like hit it behind you. and
yeah,
stuff.
like they'll throw it, they'll bowl it, right? They do that run and then they do the windmill thing.
Yeah, I think it has to hit the ground once, right?
Yeah, I've seen the dude just turn and like he just like knocks the ball directly behind him, and then everyone goes crazy. And I don't even understand how you get anyone out. You just like hit it, and then sometimes the guy runs back and forth between the wickets, and other times he just hits it and stands there. I don't. I will sit there and watch it for 20 minutes. No one ever gets out. I don't understand what's happening, but all I know is we're now on board USA Cricket because we're a superpower.
Well, and I'm reading on back-to-back text messages from the Vancouver 4 text line. Talking about cricket sounds like something written by early-stage AI with the wrong word choice. And then the second one says, that cricket description sounds like it came right out of ChatGPT. It does. It sounds totally made up.
But people love it over there, man. Like, over in Europe, that thing is on TV like nonstop.
Yep.
Same thing if you're over in Asia. They love cricket. It is a big freaking deal. And in a country of 1 billion people, like in India, when that's the national sport, yeah, it's pretty popular.
Well, we are sending a basketball player to the Olympics in another sport. Wanted to get to that coming up. We'll also tap on a lot of the things that Souk missed, including WNBA drama, the college baseball super regionals, the hockey Stanley Cup finals set, and now we're getting into the NBA finals as well as the college football playoff schedule. All of that is ahead, plus the best 2-week stretch in football viewing history. We will explain. That's coming up in hour 2 of Primetime right here on The Fan.
refreshed. Eyes aren't bloodshot at all. No, you're doing great.
Got some good weather, some golf in the system, some fun with the boys, and there you go.
It was great weather. That was my first time in Tahoe, and let me tell you, Tahoe,
Oh, really?
spectacular. Yeah. Been to Palm Springs, did the Arizona thing. That was my first venture. I've done Reno. That was my first venture into Tahoe, and there's a reason why it's very expensive there.
It's gonna sound really lame. I love the air up there. It's so crisp and like evergreen. I mean, there's plenty of parts around greater Portland area that you can go and get that same smell. But I just love
it's pretty
that mountain air.
It's pretty spectacular. Just the views, and I'm very much pro Tahoe. I shall return.
So you were out for, 4 work days, but 6 days in total.
Yes.
And I know that between golf rounds, cigars, beverages, things like that, you do keep your finger on the pulse of some things. I wanted to run through kind of quick rapid fire if you were kept abreast of all the goings on and your thoughts on some of these things as well. And we have to start at the very top of the list with really what has taken over our national narrative in sports media. What are your thoughts about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA?
We talked about this going into.
Have you heard of that, by the way? What's going on there?
Yeah,
okay,
I've heard about that. I mean, some of the stuff, like literally today, I'm sitting there on the airplane, sitting on the tarmac, and one of the top 3 stories on ESPN was Chicago. Was it the Chicago Sky? Harassed. And like the whole article is this shock and awe, and the players be like, "This is ridiculous," because they got off the bus. And there was a fan with a camera, and he put it in the face of one of their players.
Mm-hmm.
How
dare he?
That's the story. And they're like, this is ridiculous. And they're like, yeah, security we travel with, and security shoot him away. But this is outrageous. We didn't want them. We talked about growing our sport. We didn't talk about it like this.
Have you seen the video that came out about it too?
No.
Oh, it's basically just a camera following them trying to ask him a question.
Oh my God.
Much like you would see with like TMZ when they get a celeb coming out of their hotel or whatever.
Remember, it was Brittany Griner, I think, at a hotel. Someone was following her and yelling at her, and we made it like this national story. Like, oh, they're not safe. Really? Like you don't think that male athletes get followed and yelled at about 1,000 times more? And I get it, female, male, that whole thing. But God, we have leaned so far into this high school drama between the WNBA and the media. It's embarrassing. Caitlin Clark, she gets bumped. Oh my God. There's someone take care of this. Is out. She's gonna die. And then we got other players sniping at Caitlin Clark. The whole thing. Like, very rarely do I see any story that actually involves anything on the court with the WNBA. And by the way, they are leaning into it. And they act like it's disgusting. The players act like
eyeballs.
They freaking exactly know what they're doing, and they're leaning into it because it's how they're selling their game.
Well, I don't know if you saw the latest chapter in this, but not on the harassment side of things, but on the other side, it is election season, as you know, and Indiana Representative Jim Banks sent a letter to the commissioner of the WNBA asking what she intends to do to protect Caitlin Clark from further targeted attacks and aggression. So now our politicians and our congresspeople are getting involved with the leagues.
It's just so stupid. But it worried me because I said so much of the NBA has gone into this. We've talked about this so many times that the NBA, I think the coverage of it is kind of garbage because it's all this, again, high school drama. Who's going to go where? Are the Lakers going to get another superstar? If Boston loses one game, if Boston loses tonight, game 1 of the NBA Finals, mark my words, the lead story will be Tatum. Not any. Tatum's not a star. He can't. It's one game. Nope.
Can Tatum deliver?
It is
lacking leadership? ?
And I just, you knew that the WNBA was going to get leaned into this, and some of this is males not being like we can't handle females acting like males, like as media members or as society, like everything that's going on with Caitlin Clark, everything that's going on with Angel Reese, everything that's going on with all this sniping, this is all over male sports. Mm-hmm. This has been going on forever.
It happens at every whistle in a hockey game.
Has anyone ever seen Draymond Green? Has anyone ever seen any sort of instigator in football? I mean, my God, we got Bill Romanowski and J.J. Stokes getting spit on.
Yep.
Like, we got all kinds of this stuff. Dudes like taking swings at each other. And yet now that a lady does like a fraction of it, and we blow it up into just this salacious, stupid story, but it's because it's what is moving that game forward, and it's sad to see. in this moment that women's sports is having where it's growing. And one, it's stupid that we can't admit that because it's Caitlin Clark. Did you see that in like over the weekend there were like 8 WNBA games?
I saw these numbers. Yep.
The 2 that had Caitlin Clark averaged over 17,000 people at the game.
Live attendance. Yeah.
Live attendance. And the other 6, I think, averaged like 7.
Yeah, there was only one game of the other 6 over the weekend that drew more than 10,000, and both of hers were 17K.
Yeah, a couple of them had like 6,000.
And you have and granted, I understand that the league is not one person, but the direct effect is undeniable. It's not the entire rookie class that people are coming to see. It's her. And that's what the story is right now. I also feel like we're at a spot where, and this is where I wanted to bring this toddler analogy in that I kind of thought of earlier. It's like when my kid sees someone else playing with a toy of his that he's long forgotten about. This league has been around for a while, and none of us have cared about it. But as soon as a couple important people have something to say, then we're like, wait, this is a conversation I need to be a part of. This is a toy that I'm actually interested in. This is something I actually want to play with. When really deep down, there was no real interest. You're only interested because someone else got interested.
Yeah. And I said all along, I am interested to see if there is staying power to this, because right now they are having a moment with Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark does not appear to be this transcendent, like godlike figure, or goddess, I should say, right? She's a fine player. She's having a good year, putting up, numbers, but
Girl, you something else.
she's not, remember when LeBron came into the NBA, like immediately you're like, oh, okay, right? Like,
You watch one dunk of his and you're like,
well,
oh. Okay.
Wemby this year, right?
Yeah, sure.
How long did it take you watching Wemby where you're like, oh.
Dude, I was dead wrong on him. I had a bet against him to perform as well as he did, and 6 games in, I knew I was cooked on the season. Like, he's just so good. It's obvious right away.
And I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark can't be a good player. By the way, Sabrina Ionescu had this.
Really struggled when she first came out.
And I don't, is Sabrina better than Caitlin Clark? And Caitlin Clark had a better college career numbers wise, but those were 2 big players that got hyped. And now Sabrina has become one of the better players in the league, but and she's got a shoe from Nike.
Getting her second one now.
She's not drawing 15,000 people. She's not drawing 3 million viewers.
But she's a nice piece to a league that's trying to grow its footprint.
So when Caitlin Clark settles in to whatever she's going to be, and let's say she's an all-star player, but just is one of the, let's go, 5 or 6 best players in the WNBA, which, by the way, really good.
Yeah.
If I told you who is the 5th best player in the NBA, that's a really good player.
Yeah, they're called All League.
But
All NBA.
if that's what she settles into, and Indiana doesn't win, and they're just, a year goes by, does some of this, what we're doing with the WNBA, especially if the coverage just becomes this, if it just becomes noise, because eventually, I know I just roll my eyes at it. Every time I see a WNBA story, I just roll my eyes because I'm like, oh my God, we're doing this again.
Because we're not doing the thing where we're actually covering the sport. We're covering the drama of the sport.
And as dumb as I think the NBA coverage is, there's still meat in the sandwich. Tonight, when I watch Kyrie, and look, I told you that the coverage is going to be, if Dallas wins, it's going to be the Tatum thing, right? It should be Dallas and Luka and Kyrie kind of having the reemergence and kind of like, think about where Kyrie was a couple years ago. The dude, no one wanted him. And now he's here. That should be the story, but it won't. It'll be Boston, and that'll be the national, media about what's wrong with Boston. But there's still meat to the sandwich. We will still watch Luka. We will still watch Kyrie, high-end basketball. Yep. And I honestly, I don't know. I'm not throwing any shade, but having watched a couple of WNBA games this year, having watched the NCAA games, I don't know if the product in masses
can carry it.
Yeah. Like if this is all it is this high school Johnny crap, who doesn't like who's elbowing who's sniping it at others, and we're not the only reason, that
who are people there to see?
If that's all it is, I just don't know. And I would hate for them to lose this moment, because you would think that sport would lean into this and lean into it hard. And I don't know. I'm intrigued, and it's not just the league, by the way. I'm telling you, it's the media. It's ESPN.
Yep.
It's everyone covering it. The stories that are being written. There will be a fatigue here that if they're not careful, they are going to turn off a lot of people. In fact, I've already talked to some people that are like, yeah, man, I got caught up in the whole NCAA thing and it was great, and they're already like, it's just turning into that, because we see it with soccer. We get caught up in the World Cup or the Olympics. We can get caught up in something. You know, I've had this with Rop a couple times with the NHL. Like, I love the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Mhm.
Favorite sport, love hockey. And there's been a couple times where Rop gets caught up in either Olympic hockey or the Stanley Cup, and he's like, oh, yeah, I watched. You get jazzed,
Yeah,
and then what happens?
doesn't stay.
It doesn't stay.
Yeah.
I've done it with soccer. I've got caught up in soccer.
In the moment, in the period of time, in
Yeah.
the tournament,
Yeah.
and then it fades.
So I will be very interested to see, but the coverage of it right now is not helping at all, and it's just silly. The storylines that they're coming out, including the massive having to shoo away a man. He was waiting for us when we got off the bus with a camera.
God forbid a reporter follow the team.
What are we doing? Can we grow up here? Just a scooch?
Couple other things that Souk missed while he's away, plus need to introduce you to what may be the best 2-week stretch in football viewing history. It's coming this holiday season, and then we'll get into In the News. That's coming up next on 1080 The Fan. That climate change is a hoax, because I've got some information about what could happen to our great state
I saw
in years to come.
the doom and gloom map.
That's right. But right now, a couple other things that Souk may have missed. I doubt he missed it, but he was only gone. You're a puckhead. So Oilers, Panthers, we have the Stanley Cup set. It was not when you left. Your thoughts on the series And will Canada get their first cup in 31 years?
Unfortunately, no. The Panthers are really good.
I think so too.
Like but people thought Dallas was the best team going into this thing. Or Carolina was the odds-on favorite, and they got bounced in the first round. So, we've written off the Oilers so many times. Didn't look good against the Canucks. Had to come back in game 6 and 7 there. Everyone thought the Stars were going to steamroll them. They won in 6. And the Panthers, it's not like the Panthers have been absolute juggernauts. They've been pushed. Boston, pushed them to the edge. So I just think goaltending, there's a huge advantage there for Florida. And I think 5-on-5, I think that's going to be the big difference. If it gets to special teams, I think Edmonton can do it. And I think Edmonton has better stars. That's been the Oilers for years. I mean, you got 2 MVPs on your team, for heaven's sakes.
Do you subscribe at all to the theory that the Oilers are just going to win because one of their fans decided to flash the crowd?
I would hope so.
Good.
Although, maybe someone from Florida needs to,
I did see something that the last set of playoff up-tops we saw might have been from the Florida Panthers in a previous run.
There was in the
glass.
Stars-Oilers series, every time they were show the Stars bench, boy, there was a hot. That was like, she was strategically placed. Boy, I'll tell you what, she was fantastic. And it was like one of those classy, like Leko hots.
Girl, you something else.
Yeah, she was fantastic. So I hope we get a good series, but me, I've been wanting the cup back in Canada. It bothers me, even though, the whole USA thing. I don't want to see Florida. Sunrise, Florida.
It just doesn't seem like it fits.
No, and the Dallas and Phoenix and even LA. It's like, that's not hockey. Get it up north. I think 92, 93 the last time we've seen a cup up in Canada. That whole country, what do they have? Well, they got like maple syrup,
free healthcare,
and hockey. That's what they got. I love Canada. I love going up there. I'm more of a Canucks guy, but get one. And plus, Connor McDavid. God, I can't say it. Connor McDavid is the best player in that sport. 3 MVPs. This would be like in the NFL, like Peyton Manning not having won a Super Bowl yet.
Sure.
You got to get like the monkey off your back, and so this is the last thing he needs to really go down as one of the great players of all time. So go Edmonton, True North strong and free up there. I hope Canada wins a cup.
On the diamond, we have the Ducks and the Beavs still dancing in the Sweet 16 of baseball. I don't know if you caught any of that over the weekend.
I saw that Beaver fan was pissed off because on the selection show they gave the Ducks the Beavers regional seed. They gave them the 15th seed because they confused Oregon and Oregon State.
That's right, I did see that.
Yeah, and nothing pisses Beaver fan off more
than being mistaken for the Ducks.
Yeah,
they don't like that.
That's not good. Well, and for the Beavs, again, it's what they've got. Like you're holding on to that baseball thing, and you should. So, you don't want to see your arch nemesis there getting credit for you.
Both of those teams headed to SEC schools for their super regionals. The Ducks going to Texas A&M, while the Beavs head to Lexington to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. I was listening to Colin Wilson, who's been on before. He handicaps the college baseball stuff quite a bit. He thinks the Beavs could be a live dog in Lexington, so hopefully that is the case.
That'd be really cool if. Well, anytime I always like seeing Oregon State succeed. And when you see the little guy, and they're not a little guy in baseball, by the way. I mean,
no,
you can't win 3 national championships and then be considered the little guy.
And in fact, they tried to get ahead of this whole realignment thing. They said, we're not going to join a conference. We are going to make our own independent schedule, and we'll just play the best teams. And baseball has a lot more flexibility to how you can schedule. And so rather than, okay, I guess we'll just go in the Mountain West with everybody else, or like trying to find a conference that would take just an extra baseball team and not the other sports. They're like, no, we'll just do this ourselves.
I really hope that. I think it would be really cool, kind of as a final parting shot to the rest of the pack.
The last Pac-12 championship?
The last Pac-12 championship. I saw that the D3 baseball team, their storybook finally ended. The team that where was it? Was it
Birmingham Southern?
Birmingham Southern, yeah, because their school disbanded. There is no more school, but they were still playing in the Division III baseball
the school
championships.
shuttered on May 31st, and their College World Series didn't finish until I think that's actually finishing up today, but they got bounced.
How awesome would it be to see the Beavs? Because I think that'll be the last Pac-12 thing ever.
It should be, unless there's still NCAA track and fields going on. But
if this isn't, this is one of, or certainly but it's the last main Pac-12 championship, and it'd be neat because I know the softball is going on right now.
Mhm.
We see Oklahoma playing up there.
Yep.
But I don't even know. Do we have any Pac-12 teams still alive?
No, I think that it's
This is the final.
This is
the
the final. Yeah.
So there's no more Pac-12 teams. So this could be it. And I think it'd be awesome to see the Beavs do it. Plus, again, like I said, I just like seeing the Beavs succeed. It's like when you see Washington State, you see Oregon State, kind of that the little guy. And I just think what they've built down there in Corvallis, in a place that you shouldn't be good at baseball, that's a kick-ass story.
Well, we also yesterday got the official college football playoff schedule, and I don't think that there was anything really super groundbreaking about it because we kind of knew the framework of when everything was going to fall. But Warren Sharp, who you and I both follow, great purveyor of football information, he laid out something that I saw yesterday that I thought, oh my God, this is going to be the best stretch of football that we've ever seen in our lives. And he said, and I quote, "Warn your families, we're about to be blessed." So this is going to come your way right over the Christmas and New Year holidays. Starts on December 19th and ends January 12th. It's 15 days with 23 games, 23 game days for college and pro combined in that period. Here's just a little rundown. It starts with a Thursday night football between Browns and Bengals. Whatever, national game, we're all watching anyways.
Hey, Browns could be good if Deshaun Watson. People forget, if Deshaun Watson actually decides to be Deshaun Watson from the Texans.
They got a good thing going there if he is not a detriment.
Dude, they made the playoffs last year with Joe Flacco, for God's sakes. Like, the Browns could be good this year.
The following Friday, that would be December 20th, the first round game of the college football playoff. The following Saturday, or the next Saturday at noon, the second first-round college football playoff game. Then we get Saturday NFL football, Texans at Chiefs, C.J. Stroud and Patrick Mahomes. We also get the third college football playoff game that day. We also get Steelers-Ravens that day. And then we get the fourth national college football playoff game to round out that day. December 22nd, we get a full NFL Week 16 slate, so penultimate push before the playoffs. You get Saints-Packers Monday Night Football. You get the 2 Wednesday Christmas games of Chiefs-Steelers and Ravens-Texans. You then get the day after on a Thursday, that's Bears-Seahawks. Then you get the full slate of Week 17 games that Sunday, and then you go into wild card, or you get the conference championship rematch between the Niners and the Lions. That's the Monday Night Football following the Week 17 slate. And then you get into all of the college football quarters until you finally round it out with the super wild card weekend on the 11th and 12th. You get essentially 23 pro and college dates in a 2-week stretch. Our loved ones are going to miss us.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much credit do you have to bank going into early December? Guys,
None.
You got to start. I'm telling you, like December 1st.
And
right?
you might need like a power ranking. Like on this day, this game is the important one because you might not get all of them.
You're gonna have to go to a Christmas village. Like you go down to like Leavenworth, like right from the get-go, like December 1st, start playing the holiday music right around Thanksgiving, get a tree up.
Cut your own, maybe do some cider with it.
Yeah, you got to do something. Maybe even start like
Take some cute pictures.
Suggest going to a pumpkin patch early, like in like for Halloween. Be like, hey, why don't we go to a pumpkin patch? You got to do some dumbass leading up to this. And I'm telling you, this may start at Halloween. You have to start putting credits end of October all the way through November, because you hit that stretch, that's go time right there. That is a gambler's paradise. And a lot of people like that get to that point in the year, work's kind of dwindling down and people are taking time off and you're just drinking more. Dude, that thing is that is a phenomenal stretch.
And
That's
you look
for
at it,
you suckers.
and it's-
I don't have a family. I can do whatever I want.
It's also going to be all important football. We're talking weeks 16, 17, 18 in the NFL and the first 2 or 3 rounds of the college football playoffs. So all impactful, no throwaway games. It's going to be a blast. One text on the Vancouver Ford text line says, one lady flashes her up tops on national TV and she gets a movie offer. I flash my thing once and I get thrown to the slammer. What a double standard.
She got an offer for something?
I heard that there was an adult film company that approached her. I don't know if that's a movie offer. She may have also gotten a movie offer. But the reason I bring that text is because it brings us to In the News, where there is one creep from Beaverton going to the slammer, but maybe not for long enough. That plus dead whale news. It's all coming up next. But first, Will has the SportsCenter update. building. We do expect Isaac back on Mondays in the great American city of Salina, Kansas. Suk rejoining us from Northern California after a wonderful trip down in the Bay Area and Tahoe
I
area.
highly recommend it if you get the opportunity to go. It's wonderful down there.
My wife and I got married in the Tahoe area. It is lovely, especially this time of year.
Of course you did.
Yeah, we
Didn't
did.
your dad have a place in Tahoe?
Sure did.
Boy, you're white.
Sold it.
You're white privilege.
Sold it. Doesn't have it anymore.
Nice.
Also
sold it to buy one in Palm Springs or
no.
Scottsdale, perhaps?
Also downsized from the East Bay home to a smaller peninsula home.
I was playing golf. We were at one of the courses we were playing, Incline, which might be my favorite course we played down there. It's just stellar.
Incline's got money.
Yeah, and we were playing with a guy that got paired up with us, me and my two other buddies, and he was a member there, and he was talking to us about how it's not as expensive as you think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he goes, oh yeah, he's like, you can find some stuff, and
Really?
and I was kind of just laughing because he's like, these condos right here. He goes, yeah, you could probably get one of those for like 1.4, 1.5, so it's not as bad as I was like, it's this
sure.
bargain. Let me jump right on that. Jump right on that for my second my second go round. He was he made his money doing hair products. He was in like the female beauty like Paul Mitchell and like that
Nice.
sort of stuff. And apparently that was like, because he was an older guy, I guess back in the day, like being in that industry, he had some stories.
I bet. Who's the dude who the L Brands guy? What's his name? It's like name's like Leonard Wexman or something. The dude who ended up being in bed with Epstein and all of that, but the guy who essentially founded Victoria's Secret under that brand umbrella. That guy.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of.
It's juicy.
Yeah, there was a lot of, and some of
Juicy
it was
couture.
some of it was a little creepy. I was like, because it was like 1980s, and like where I think there was a lot of anything goes. But boy, that dude had some Paul Mitchell stories that were Thunderdome.
Dang.
Yeah, cool dude though.
Well, it is
Kinda.
Thursday, June 6th. Is that right? June 6th?
You are correct.
And it is time for In the News. I'm your stand-in newsman. Hello. Our always on standby news contributor, Jason Sakanik, back in the building. Ortner doing his field reporting as always. We had let's see, what would I call it? A cliffside rescue. Did you see this?
I did see
in
this.
Central Oregon?
Yeah.
So this over
Someone
at
took a tumble.
Yeah, Sahalee Falls. An elderly man fell about 40 feet over a cliff near the base of the falls on Wednesday morning. That would be yesterday. And he sustained non-life-threatening injuries, but they couldn't essentially extract him from down there. They needed to come up with like a rope pulley system and pull him back up the cliff and then carried him half a mile to the parking lot.
Dude, that's crazy. And when they say old man, do we know like?
Let's
I'm an old man, like
see.
42.
Yeah, I was gonna like where does old like I'm in that weird age now because like I'm old.
You could be old or you could not be
You're
at
in
all
midlife crisis
by this.
age. That's what you're in.
I'm gonna buy myself a convertible.
You're gonna get a Miata.
we had that conversation yesterday. Schultze's in the market for a roadster, maybe looking at a Miata.
Well, he said it's like his dream car.
That's right.
I felt bad because I was making fun of him. Not really, but kind of. I was making fun because I guess like the Miata is his dream car, a convertible Miata, and I was like, oh my God, Schultze. You need to dream higher, man.
Well,
you gotta set that
we've
bar.
also
It's
added
just-
BMW Z3 to the mix, so that may be coming.
And Vespa
And, Will has told him he needs a Vespa with a
he is
sidecar.
with a
He
sidecar.
is fascinating. Yeah, but some old man takes a tumble, 40 feet down a cliff. That's some scary stuff.
Yeah, he is in stable condition. He is expected to be okay, but scary nonetheless. I finally have, as people have long wanted, a dead whale update. And
Blow it up. Blow it up.
much to the chagrin of my co-host today, they will not be blowing the whale up.
Yeah, I guess there was like a thread going around on Reddit, and people were like making fake posts saying that, hey, I'm an insider and they are gonna blow this thing up, and people are flocking to this thing.
So-
like they can't keep the people away from the dead whale carcass.
So a couple things here. Oregon State Parks posted on Facebook that history is not repeating itself.
Boo.
Yeah, and they
Cowards.
also went on to
Exactly.
say that basically because of the necropsy that they've done on it, they kind of had to slice it like sushi into a bunch of different sections.
Yeah, and they
so,
said it got hit by a boat. They think it was
Right.
a boat strike that killed it.
and now it's decomposing on its own. And the authorities are saying we don't think anyone wants to smell it, and at this point in time, it's basically just an unrecognizable blob. There's nothing even to throw to blow up.
Oh, there is.
Now the problem is there are too many Souks out there that want to come over and poke it with a stick.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is that so many people have come to see this whale that they're actually ruining bird nests in the surrounding areas.
Yeah, they've tried to rope it off because there's some endangered bird that's
The
nesting.
snowy plover.
Yeah, and people are like, they said they're like riding their bikes or trampling this through, and
They're just trampling bird nests to get to this dead whale
because they want to smell and poke the dead whale. And this is my point. Parks Department down there, look at the people coming down just to see the dead whale. Now imagine
if you held a blow up the whale festival. Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know what we're doing. Why is this so hard? Give the people what they want. Charge $15 a ticket. The tourism down, it's gonna be massive.
People would come from near and far. People would
Yes.
come from across the country. They might come from around the globe. If you said, "Hey, dead whale, we're running it back."
I'm not gonna say that it's a guarantee that I would go down to see the whale blow up, but there's not many things that would get me.
You'd at least tune into a live stream.
I think I'd go down if I had nothing else going on.
If they're throwing a party and they're bringing a bunch of booze vendors
Yeah,
and
we
they're
throw-
having like a fish bake and stuff like
exactly
that.
right. We get a crab feed down there.
A
and you
real
get-
coastal crab feed.
Exactly. You get some like Pelican Brewing down there. We get a little beverage
Yes,
going on. Make
yes.
it like a hood to coast sort of thing. Like when you get to the end, there's a big party, but at the end of it, instead of getting like a crappy medal, I blow up a whale. And then we have like a raffle, and whoever becomes like king of the festival gets
I
to
like this.
You know, like, and I
you
want
get to push the red button.
No, I don't
Or
want
like,
the
oh,
red.
this-
I want the plunger.
Yeah.
I want the Daffy
Yeah.
Duck, Bugs Bunny, big TNT thing, plunger. Let's go. You set up a big watchtower like in Oppenheimer.
Think about how much money you could potentially raise for charity if you had a raffle for who got to execute the plunger on the dynamite.
I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why we're such cowards. One whale gets blown up in an inappropriate way from 1970, and now we're having to pay for it. Haven't our dynamiting prowess come a long way over the last 50 years? Haven't we learned what from 1970 hasn't gotten better?
I have to
I
think
don't
there are
like
ways
that-
of doing this
American
effectively.
Gladiators.
I don't know why we're judging whale explosion based on one poor execution.
Poorly executed. I don't know that it was poorly conceived.
Well, people are saying like PETA would be on board. It's dead. It's a
What would PETA care? It's already dead.
it's a dead rotting corpse. But now we can't even go on the
PETA
beach
wants to get
because it
involved. Go
smells
attack
so
the boat.
bad. Give the people what they want, and people want dynamited whales.
Unfortunately,
Let's go.
I think we would just be launching whale blob everywhere. And
Well, but again, I think
I think
blow it
it's
up
gotten
in.
too late now is the
More
problem.
ex-
We missed our window.
More explosion. We build some sort of netting around it. We build a dome. You know, something like.
Worked in Simpsons.
Yes. Imagine building like a Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. We get like Tina Turner there, Master Blaster's there, that little dude like Corky from Life Goes On, he's there. And we blow that thing up inside the dome. Oh, I'm telling you, that might be the best thing this state has ever done.
All right, Russian warships, climate change, and an 83-year-old creeper thrown behind bars. It's all coming up next when we continue in the news on 1080 The Fan.
This is the Fan's window into
June 6th. How many times does one creeper have to commit an offense before we just throw away the key for good, Suk?
Yeah, it's like we had the dude that was on the Max all the time, and he was like cutting people's hair and like wiping fluid on them, and like he would go to jail for like 8 days. You know my theory. I think we should have like a tribunal, and sometimes your humanity dues is paid up, and like or I guess it's like you're delinquent on it for a certain period of time, and we just ship you off. Do you like that? Remember, like they used to send everyone to Australia? There's that floating garbage island out like in the ocean.
It's a little bit bum voyage-y, but
Exactly.
convict voyage.
Send them out there.
Well, this is actually comes from my local Beaverton Target.
Yeah.
83-year-old man with a lengthy criminal history, going to serve 60 months in prison, so what's that, 5 years,
Good.
and register as a sex offender after he followed young girls around the Target while fondling himself.
Yeah. How old was he?
83!
Man, no one thought to just kick this dude in the nuts.
And according to the DA's office, this Gary Douglas Caughey has a lengthy criminal history dating back to at least 1973 and has been convicted of multiple crimes, including both rape and kidnapping.
Oh my
So my
gosh.
question is, why is he already walking around at Target with kids?
You're 83 and you're out there, pulling the putter, and come on. Just again, no one in the Target thought to just beat this old man. Sorry, but if I see a dude walking around a Target and he's fondling himself, like following girls around, like at some point take action.
The two teenagers that he was following, they were not with an adult. They went and they alerted a store supervisor who then confronted him, and then they got the authorities involved. You wonder if it was just a regular civilian, if something would have been handled a little bit differently. The store people maybe felt we have to handle this in a
I don't know. Or was it one of those he got away with it
above-board
because
way.
he was 83?
maybe that's it
Maybe
too.
if we're all lucky, he just dies in prison. And I hope that this isn't one of those where he serves
he left before they could stop him, but they got his license plate number and they tracked him down.
I just hope he's this isn't one of those where he does like a month in prison. They're like, oh well.
Well, he's behaving well, and we're overcrowded here,
Again,
so
at some point, dude, you're behind on your dues and you're just gone. The same thing with the Max, guy. Just enough is enough. At some point, can we all grow a set of balls and start actually doing something to these people?
that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I don't think 5 years is enough. Throw away the keys.
Exactly. He no longer needs to be a member of society. He just go away. And hopefully, again, make him serve the full 60 months, and God willing, prison will take care of it.
When you woke up this morning, Suk, did you open up your copy of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's publication?
I do. It's the first thing I do every morning.
So you already know what Oregon's going to look like in 80 years.
I actually saw this on Oregon Live, and again, I just laughed because they always like, if it bleeds, it leads. It was like the third story down. Like when climate change hits, what part of Oregon will be underwater?
So that's what we have here is a 2022 report from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration saying that they think that the sea level is going to rise along U.S. coastline by about 2 feet by the end of this century, so 80 years. Well, we are long gone. Our children may still be around, but it says that failing to curb emissions could cause an additional 1.5 to 5 feet. So then they have an interactive map where you can see which areas this will most affect.
Well, I'll be dead, so
It won't affect us, but we do know that
Might
places
affect
like Sauvie Island would be underwater.
Well, you're not going to be around in 80 years.
I'd be 106. You don't know what drugs they'll come out with.
Could
106 is
with
within
medical
reason.
advancents, could Will make it to 106?
I suppose.
Probably not,
Maybe.
but you never know.
I'd put the odds like 3 to 1. That's like a plus 300, plus
The
400 bet.
The earthquake's going to happen before any of this.
That's true. But if you should be around here at the turn of the next century, around 2100, places like Warrenton, Seaside, and Toledo would also be unrecognizable, immersed in water.
It is weird because I like a lot of like the ancient history books, and you go back and like see how civilizations have changed and get wiped out and everything from meteor strikes, and we know that there's all kinds of flooded cities that are like underwater. It's like the whole Atlantis thing. Like Was there in Atlantis? I don't know, but there are cities that are completely buried.
Yeah.
You know, the Middle East at one point was like a rainforest. It was very fertile and water ran everywhere. And now it's just a desert.
What's the one? It's near. I want to say it's like near Thailand, the Angkor Wat, where they basically were just exploring in the jungle and they found this palatial city.
Found this massive city that
Yeah.
at one point they thought could have had over like 1 million people in it. There's these massive structures in there, and now it's just, you know, it's gone. Well, the rainforest itself, like the Amazon rainforest, that's man-made. He said, like, most of those plants don't grow there naturally. Someone
Really?
planted those. Like a lot of them.
Wow.
Yeah, because that soil doesn't grow that. Someone figured out how to change the soil by like burning it and then planted a lot of the Amazon rainforest. That is not necessarily a naturally occurring thing. Someone planted that damn thing.
That's
and,
crazy
and
to
look
me.
at it. So it's this idea that like that could, people are like, well, that could never happen. Yes, it can. It has happened since the beginning of time. It's only a matter of time before like someone on the planet, whether it's now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, some meteor is going to come down and hit it, and like a huge chunk is going to be wiped out, or a massive earthquake, or the sea rise. At some point, we're all going to be sitting here and be like, Florida's going to be gone, New Orleans gone, like part of California gone. And it's crazy to think that way. But since the beginning of time, every now and then the earth gives you Mother Nature can be a real son of a gun. And every now and then she's like, yeah, by the way, you're done. This portion of you, one of the super volcanoes, right? Like it's going to go off and like a quarter of the earth is just going to be gone.
Yeah, the big one, whether that is in earthquake form, in volcano form, in flood form, it feels like we have, as a society and civilization, ducked that for, I don't want to say far too long, but boy, it feels like the clock is ticking.
Yeah, you think about it, when's the last time you had I'm talking a catastrophic global event? Because like they had one.
I mean, you had a horrible tsunami in Japan.
Katrina's not a global. That was
But
affected.
that was regional.
That affected one little pocket. I am talking a global catastrophe where something happens and a huge portion of humanity is
Like
either
wiped out?
affected or wiped out. I mean, we had them like during the Viking times. There was a meteor that hit off the coast of like Greenland, and it eliminated like half of the Scandinavian population, like just gone, like overnight. Like 3 years of pure dark winter. We don't talk about it because again, it happened in the 700, and so it's like but we know now that is something that occurred. And imagine all of Northern Europe being under a cloud for 3 years, no sun, completely blacked out. Like that is stuff that has happened when
And could happen.
Yeah,
could happen.
That has happened when humans have been on the planet. We've
never seen it ourselves.
We haven't had the ability to film it. But that next one that happens, someone's gonna get a YouTube video of that and they'll be like, oh boy, that one's bad. Like half of they say with the big one, right? They're talking about potentially like a big hunk of California just
falling off.
Imagine waking up tomorrow and looking down and being like,
everyone in California is just gone.
Quarter of California and about 14 million people dead overnight. You're like, they're
just gone, huh?
It's just gone. It's crazy.
Well, I was also going to tell you about Putin bringing Russian warships into the Caribbean. Good thing your St. Lucian vacation didn't happen later in the summer. But
Cuban Missile Crisis Part 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, maybe. We will have to put a pin in that and get back to it possibly tomorrow, possibly in the club, but we must soldier on because the Hot 5 at 5 is coming up next. And additionally, we have to talk uniforms and team names because we got a couple new ones, or at least some new options for them in today's sports media. That's all coming up on 1080 The Fan.
Your roof. It protects you and your loved ones. So when you need to replace it,
time away in California. Rop coming back our way on Monday, we believe, from the great American city of Salina. Want to remind you, we're just about 5 weeks away from the Fan Golf Classic presented by Autotown GMC. It's our 10th annual Fan Golf Classic out at Langdon Farms Golf Club. Do you feel like your golf game got any better over the weekend, or did it kind of just stay at a plateau?
Oh,
Did you hunt any birdies out there?
Yeah, there was one round where I kept it on the rails, and it was pretty good. But I'm not gonna lie, there were other rounds that factors that were beyond my control. They didn't lead to a lot of focus. So, like I said, golf was a vehicle to have a good time. So it wasn't necessarily about scores when we were out there. But I did see a lot of beautiful scenery. And yeah, we had a couple birds.
Well, factors that are in our control at the Fan Golf Classic: Matt's Barbecue.
That's right.
Victorico's Mexican food. We've set up hole 6 as the doers hole for the par 3 contest with wisdom, brought to you by our very own fan staff, as well as, of course, doers. They bring the most wisdom.
I like where we're going with this.
We have the morning round is sold out, and we've just got a couple. The afternoon round is sold out. Yeah. The morning round has just a couple foursomes left. So if you're looking to get in, it's an awesome time. It's well worth the money. The food's going to be great. The drinks will be flowing. The golf is good. We know all of that. So go ahead and check out 1080thefan.com to get yourself signed up.
I did have one of these too. I had the official. Like you felt like super cheap, but we walked into the first course that we played. I think it was Old Greenwood, and so I went in there and I ordered a hot dog and a Diet Coke, and my man hit me with 16 bucks.
Whoa! How much did they charge you for that Diet Coke? Was it like 8 and 4?
I felt so bad because I try not to be like, you don't want to be like the cheap guy, but I was like, yeah, I'll take a hot dog and a Diet Coke, and my man hit me with 16, and my first word was, I say, excuse me?
What?
And he just stared at me, and I was like,
okay, itemized receipt. How much was the dog? How much was the Coke?
So $16.
Yeah.
You want to take it? The Coke actually wasn't that expensive.
$4.12?
Yeah. Hit me with a $12 hot dog. I was like, my man. And then you feel bad because should I tip? I just paid. I gave $1. It was a $17 hot dog, Diet Coke. And by the way, not like a big Diet Coke, just a can. A regular ass can.
What?
A regular ass can of
Diet
Diet Coke.
Refilled at the fountain at the end of the round. God.
Hit me with a $12 glizzy.
That is
no grilled onions, no relish, no nothing, just the crappy packets of ketchup and mustard.
I was going to ask if it was gourmet. I could tell it was not.
No cream cheese. It wasn't a Seattle dog.
No, I will say though that the bun, it was a pretty good bun. They had
well, it better be for $12.
$12 bun.
There was some butter on there and
toasted a little bit for you.
Well, we were debating. We were like, because there was there's
either toasted or slightly stale.
So I walk out and there's a couple other guys that are obviously eating hot dogs. I was like, anyone else? And they're like, oh man. And then as we were eating the hot dogs, we were all like, that's a pretty good hot dog.
$12 good?
Well, that's what we were saying. At what point would that hot dog have been like, hey, that's pretty good hot dog? I was thinking $7. If that had been a $7 hot dog, I would be here right now being like, guys, this is an amazing hot dog. $12? That's tough. That's a tough beat. The $12 hot dog. And the $4 Diet Coke itself. But
I can't decide which is worse. Together, it seems like
it was shocking.
You got taken to the cleaners.
It was shocking, but you don't want to be that guy. It's like, dude, no, because if they already put the Diet Coke, you already have the hot dog. Let's be honest, I'd already opened the Diet Coke, so at that point, things have been set in motion that couldn't be undone.
Point of no return.
Yeah, you gotta post that, right? You gotta make a big sign. It's like, hey, FYI, $12 hot dog.
Yeah. By the way, this 12-ounce carbonated beverage is going to cost you nearly $5. Yikes. Coming up later this hour, we need to talk hockey names, football uniforms, and which of the upcoming sports-related television programs will you be watching. Plus, in the club tonight, I have so many stories, Sook, I'm going to let you spin the wheel. We can talk about an ocean predator fight, what's hot in New York this summer, injured by a sex toy, don't go chasing waterfalls in China.
I like everywhere we're going with
Dave Grohl barbecue legend. I got plenty of stuff in the tickle truck for you. So we'll get to all of that in about an hour, but right now it's time for our Hot 5 at 5.
Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, Charlie, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
It's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victorricos.com. Number 5.
Bit of a scary moment in Kansas City at Chiefs headquarters today as they canceled their practice activities after one of their players, a defensive lineman, B.J. Thompson, had a seizure and suffered cardiac arrest.
I guess he's okay.
Yep, it sounds like it's going to end well, but a scary moment for the franchise nonetheless.
Yeah, and then, of course, the internet has to go crazy. Anytime we have blood clots or
Did he get the poke?
Yeah, we're going right there with the jab.
The Fauci ouchie!
Yep, we got to go right to that. That's terrifying. I've never seen anyone have anything like that, but I mean, I just like to point out, I don't know what circumstances this was under. I don't know if he got the jab or not, but I do hate to inform people that people did get blood clots, and young athletes did have heart issues. This has been going on for, I don't know, ever. So just before you rush to any judgment, I don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. Can we please stop the wild speculation about a young man who almost lost his life?
Words of Neil O'Shea. It's not breaking news, people.
Number 4.
Leaderboard at the Memorial, round 1 out there at Muirfield. And Scotty Scheffler knocking on the door, but right now it's Adam Hadwin, 6 under par after shooting a 66 today. Scheffler 1 stroke off the lead in second by himself. Crowded leaderboard after that, though. You've got some other big names. Xander Schauffele, Ludwig Oberg at 4 under. Colin Morikawa also at 4 under. Victor Hovland, who has won the event before, he is tied for 7th at 3 under par. But great field this weekend. Hopefully some big names towards the end of the weekend.
Tip of the cap for one Isaac Rupp. I'm sure he's somewhere in Atlanta, Kansas watching this.
I bet that is 95% of his sports focus while he's away.
95? No. That's like 3% Kansas City Royals who are actually good, and 97% this tournament. Guaranteed. He will not. I don't know if he's aware that the NBA Finals are starting tonight, and I guarantee he has no idea that the Oilers and the Panthers play on Saturday. I'm not even sure he's aware that the Oilers and Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Probably not, although the only reason he might know about the NBA Finals starting is he did tell me that he put a series bet down on the Dallas Mavericks to win. So money's involved.
He's probably aware at that point.
Keeping an eye out. I actually heard a cool little nugget. The owners of the Florida Panthers also own one of the horses in this weekend's Belmont Stakes. They could double dip and get a Stanley Cup Finals win on Saturday and a Belmont win on Saturday.
Get bent. Florida Panthers. Sunrise, Florida, the home of hockey. Go away.
Blazers continuing their pre-draft workouts. They worked out Tennessee sharpshooter Dalton Knecht. Does that do anything for you with the potential 7th pick?
Well, he's a white guy that shoots the 3-ball. Let's go, right? I know nothing about, like, I was reading about him today. That's the first time I had ever heard of this young man.
Yeah,
So,
he could shoot it. The other thing that may be
he's
of
like
note,
a younger Luke Babbitt.
He was really good in college last year.
people
Really good.
have noted that they've seen Nate Bjorkgren around the facility a lot. Only significant because he could be a candidate to fill an assistant coaching position on Chauncey's staff. He was the head coach of the Lakers during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
So,
And by the way, if to Will's point, if you're being considered a top 10 player, yeah, chances are you were really good.
I hope we heard of you.
Well, if it wasn't for Zach Edey, he probably would have been the player of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then number 2, we thought it was J.J. Redick's job to lose, but now it turns out Dan Hurley, the UConn head coach, who's won back-to-back national championships for the Huskies, the front runner to land the Lakers job.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But, I mean, it makes sense. LA's desperate for a big-name coach. Hurley's the hottest name in the business. They tried to go get Coach K at one point, so you know they're enamored with it. There's been some success. But Brad Stevens had some success, Billy Donovan. But I think this is more about Hurley not wanting to be in college, especially at a place like a program like UConn, who's been the dominant program in college basketball for 20-plus years. But in today's world of NIL and revenue sharing, I'm just not certain that UConn is going to be able to compete with the SEC and the Big Ten. I think Hurley and most coaches, if given the choice, I think they'll bill for the pros.
Yeah, I think that with the changing landscape of college sports, those pro gigs become more and more attractive.
I mean, we've
each
seen
year.
college head football coaches leave to take position jobs in the NFL.
And then additionally, or I should say finally, NBA Finals Game 1 at long last. It took us, I think, 6 calendar days to get here after the last series was closed out. But finally, Game 1 in Boston tonight. It's going to tip off in about 15 minutes, about 20 minutes from now. The Celtics are minus 200 favorites on the series. They're 6.5-point favorites tonight. I'm going to get Big Will Betts in here on the other side of the break. I know he's got some thoughts on the series, but finally get a little bit of round ball on the hardwood tonight.
Oh, I thought you were going to the other side of the break. Yes, can't wait. I've got a couple futures I've already lined up on both sides.
And I now think it's going to be Boston by 1,000,000 because I just saw them come out in Walton tie-dye warm-up shirts. So they're paying tribute to Big Red, and that has to mean they're winning tonight.
Well, Bill, people forget, but he was the 6th man of the year in Boston and helped them win an NBA championship. It's just not the Bill Walton that we remember with the long flowing hair. He was an older, more mature Bill Walton at that point. I think he was only smoking weed and not doing LSD anymore. I find this... It's an interesting finals matchup, but I find both teams highly unlikable.
I'm kind of with you there.
I can't really root for Kyrie because that dude's an ass, although he's had a massive kind of comeback here,
Big
like
time.
public perception.
Mostly because he's kept quiet and played basketball.
Luka is an amazing player, but he just seems like such a whiny yaunch all the time. But I do like that he's kind of fat and drinks beer and like doesn't care, and he still goes out and drops 40 on people. But I can't really root for Luka. Plus Dallas, go away. And then I got the Celtics, who might have the most annoying fans just in general in any sports city in America. It's hard. I don't know who to pull for.
Well, we will figure it out in the next segment. The Hot 5 at 5 is brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. They will, of course, be out at the Fan Golf Classic. And as always, they are the home of the best burrito in Oregon. You can visit them online at victorricos.com. What is the best case scenario or best case outcome for the NBA Finals, and what do we actually think will happen? We'll preview the finals right before tip-off when we come back right here on The Fan. Minutes away from tip-off, I guess 18 as the countdown clock goes, between the Mavericks and the Celtics in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. We're finally here after nearly a week-long wait. I know, Suk, at the end of last segment, you were starting to get into why you don't really want to see either team win, but if one has to, which obviously one does, is there a side that you'd prefer to see win, and is there a side that you believe will win?
I think Boston's going to win. I think Boston has been the best team all year. Like, I think the coverage of Boston is silly because the moment they lose a game, when we freak out, and it's like, oh man, what's wrong with Boston? They're not a super team, but they've also the best record in the NBA.
Were you here when Rob asked the stat that how many times they've been underdogs this season all year?
No, I think I was gone for that.
Three
Three
times. That's how much people think of them before the games, and then they often deliver. But
best point differential, right? Best record. Couple All NBA guys. I know Jaylen Brown didn't make it this year, but he's been an All NBA guy.
And he was the 16th. He was right on the cusp.
Right on the cusp. And you got a not necessarily a star, but a very, very good big man in Porzingis that's back. I see him right now on the court. He's going to go. Nice round out. You look at their roster. There's a lot of depth on that team. Like, where is Boston's weakness? And like all year they've just been bludgeoning teams, and yet we're constantly looking for reasons why Boston is going to lose. And the weird part is here they are in the NBA Finals, and they haven't really been tested.
No.
Right? In every series, they're basically playing shorthanded teams. So they get by the Pacers, and they were going to be fine, but then Halliburton got hurt at the end. But Indiana wasn't the only reason Indiana was there because of injuries to another team.
Right.
So Boston's been handed this path to the NBA Finals.
But at the same time, you can't blame. It's not their fault.
Where like all year, as I said, beginning to end, this is dominant run.
They've stayed healthy. They've won
stayed
their games.
healthy. This is the best team all year. So why would I think any different? Other than, when Luka and Kyrie are cooking. No offense to what Boston has, because Tatum and Brown are amazing players. But is anyone taking Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown over Luka and Kyrie the way they're playing right now?
I don't think so.
And now you got Dallas that's playing defense and they're committed to it. I think it's going to be a hell of a series. I don't write Dallas off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to bet against the team that has been dominant start to finish. Where Dallas took a while to get going, and maybe they're the hot team that pulls the upset. But I'm taking the Celtics of the Bulls.
Our esteemed producer today, Will Ortner, has been
Celtics of the Bulls.
doing a little bit of BetQL work, and I know that he's been dabbling in the NBA as well. Will, what did your research lead you to for this series? Are you playing either series bets, game one bets? What are you looking at? What looks good to you?
Right now, I'm just doing future bets, and what was it? It was over Memorial Day weekend. I was talking basketball with some other people, and they put me on to the finals MVP odds because I don't have a ton of money left in my DraftKings account. I kind of just let my football money run out, and then I'm just done until football starts again. And so I took some little sprinkles on some finals MVPs. So I took Jaylen Brown because I got him at plus 300, I believe. I liked his odds there. And then I went and I grabbed both of the Dallas Stars. I went and grabbed Luka. He was plus 200. And then I got Kyrie at 20-1. And I really wish I would have grabbed him the day before because I could have got him at 33-1. But I feel like at that point, like Jason Tatum was minus money. So there's no point in betting a future on him. And then let's just find a future where I can win, 2 times my money, 3 times my money, and I can have a little bit on both sides. I feel like if Dallas wins, one of those two guys is going to win the MVP. And I think that Jaylen Brown, after the Eastern Conference Finals, proved that if he is playing up to his capabilities, he could just as easily win it as Tatum.
Yeah, I like you think that the MVP future bet is an interesting way to go if you like the Celtics to win the series. I think they are going to win the series. I know that Rob has a plus 185 ticket on the Mavericks. He thinks that they can pull it off. But I think that if the Celtics win, it's going to be Brown or Tatum. Tatum was close to even odds to win finals MVP, and I got Brown at 6-1, and so I just bet those two guys rather than taking the series price. I think the Celtics will get it done, but I also think we'll see a series. I think that the Mavericks could certainly surprise some people. I'll be interested in the depth issue. I was hearing someone talk about how in other series so far leading up to this point against Dallas, people have been having to throw a lot of double teams at Luka because of everything he can do, and that makes a ton of sense. But that Jason Tatum's length and Jaylen Brown's athleticism, regardless of which guy is on him, whether whether it's through a switch or whatever, should be able to at least hang with him one-on-one for a while and allow them to cover up some of those open threes that they've been getting. And so we'll see if that happens.
You look at it too, and you got a guy in Drew Holiday who's
Seasoned vet and winner.
Seasoned vet, and then Derek White. I mean,
They've got other dudes.
There's not a lot of weaknesses on this Dallas team, or excuse me, on the Boston team.
I think they have considerably more depth, and that's why you're seeing them favored. You could say that the better star duo, and certainly the star duo that's playing better right now, is on the Dallas side, but I think that there's just too many horses on the Boston side.
That's where I go with. But when you have two guys that can close games, because the one knock that we've heard on Boston all year is they haven't necessarily been great in close games, right? There's always that thing of who takes the last shot, and that Tatum and it hasn't been great. Jaylen Brown had to hit the desperation three right in that game after the double turnovers there that they had at the end, just absolutely essing the bed, and Brown bailed them out. If Dallas can drag them into deep water, and Boston, by the way, does seem pretty sensitive about this. Remember, this is Tatum who's like, we're not a super team. Why do people keep talking about it? Boston hears it.
Yeah.
And if Dallas steals game one, dude, the amount of pressure, and Tatum too, remember, not Tatum, but Jaylen Brown had the whole non-all NBA thing, and that's
pretended that he didn't know or didn't
matter.
Care. Yeah.
Dude, it matters to those guys. And so I think Dallas has a chance if they can get this one tonight. Boy, I think it puts a lot of pressure on Boston. And that's the one thing that Boston hasn't had to do all year, play from behind. And Boston hasn't been great in close games. And when you look at Dallas, if I told you you got to close a game in this series and you got two guys to close it, both of them that you pick are on Dallas's side.
That's exactly right.
If I told you there's one possession and you need a 2 or a 3, and you can pick anyone on either team, you're picking the two guys on Dallas, and that's what intrigues me. That's where if there is going to be an upset and Dallas pulls this off, I think it's going to be that. In close games, I trust Luka, who can get a bucket whenever. And whatever you think of Kyrie and the flat earth and the COVID stuff, dude, that son of a gun is battle tested and has a ring on his finger. And yes, that's LeBron's championship, but if you remember who hit the shot to seal that thing,
that would be Kyrie.
It's Kyrie Irving. They're the two best closers in this series, both in Dallas.
You think it's weird for JJ Redick to be up on TV right now covering the finals as he's no longer going to be the head coach of the... Do you think he thought he was going to be the head coach of the Lakers?
Yes, I think he thought it. And he's got to be pissed. Like, he was getting handed like that Lakers job, and then like he gets hurlied. Is that little Italian angry man comes in and swipes.
I got to imagine this is not a super comfortable or pleasant broadcast for him tonight. I mean, not because he's going to hear it or whatever, but just like...
I'm sure he'll have a job in the NBA. And he's a handsome devil. He played a bunch of years. He's friends with LeBron. He's probably got a smoking hot wife.
But what a weird 24 hours for that guy to imagine.
He's doing great.
I don't feel bad for him. I just think it's probably weird. No, I don't feel bad for Redick.
I'm looking up JJ Redick's wife.
In the long run, this is way better for his career. Like, just go be liked. Don't go to LA. Like, if you don't do well, LeBron's going to run you off in 2 years anyways.
I do wonder, and I'm dead serious. Is that a good job right now?
No.
Right? Ever since Phil left, which was a while ago, they have not had a coach that has lasted more than 3 seasons. This will be LeBron's, 4th coach? I think
this will be his 4th. That's
4th
right.
coach in 7 seasons. LeBron James is 40 years old. He is showing his age. He's phenomenal, but he's not.
He may want you to draft his kid.
He's not the player that he once was. Exactly. You may have to draft his bratty kid and then not put him on a 2-way contract. And by the way, that's going to be fun. When you put his ass at the end of the bench and aren't playing him, I'm sure LeBron's going to take that just great.
And apparently the Pelicans could have swapped with the Lakers to take their 17th pick, and they worked it out that they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And now people are actually speculating that the Lakers could take Bronny 17th overall, which just seems absurd.
You got all that pressure in LA. Your other star player, Anthony Davis, is made of peanut brittle. And I don't know. I really don't know. Outside of you're in LA, they're going to pay you probably $15 million to come do it. I just don't know if that's a good job. I really don't, because once LeBron leaves, although that frees up a massive contract spot, and you would assume that another player would want a team with Anthony Davis, and everyone wants to play in LA. I just don't know. It's like the Dallas Cowboys. Is the Dallas Cowboys a good job to be the head coach?
Oof.
I think it's very similar to that.
Tons of resources, but tons of meddling, tons of expectations, short leash. Yeah, those are. I think that's a really good comparison.
And if you're Hurley or Redick, you got to realize there is a quick trigger there, and like for Redick, Hurley will be fine. He'll just go back to, if he flames out in the NBA, whatever. He goes back and pick whatever job he wants. There's not a job in America that he couldn't go back.
I was going to ask
to.
you, over under 4 years with the Lakers for Hurley.
Under. I'll always take the under. College coaches haven't traditionally done well at any level jumping up from in whatever sport. It's very hard. Although, like Brad Stevens had some success, but it's really hard. It's been more failures than successes.
Did you find anything on Redick's wife there?
Yeah, he's doing just fine. Yeah, JJ's doing great.
Any guesses on how much his career earnings are?
I'm guessing like 80 million, something like that.
He got in the hundreds.
Higher.
He got in the hundreds.
118.
See? Who was it the other day? I think was it Shannon Sharp who told? No, it was Draymond Green told Skip Bayless he was better at life than he is.
Oh,
that's
shit.
JJ.
That
Redick.
was Richard Sherman.
No. Just it was recently.
Just recently.
Draymond Green told Skip Bayless he was better at life than he was, and JJ. What you say to JJ Redick? JJ Redick is better at life than all of us. He's doing great, but for him, this is like if he flames out in 2 years, he doesn't get another job. That's it. He's never coached before. He's got one shot. So I think it's actually more of a scary proposition for JJ Redick than it is for Hurley. Hurley's got national championships to fall back on. He's like, cool, I'm going to be the new Kentucky coach. That guy could pick any job he want and get that guy fired and then go be the head coach.
Very cool moment going on in Boston right now. They just spotlighted Bill Walton's entire family in attendance and his widow as they are honoring him for everything he did in Boston and for the NBA. So kind of a cool moment for a local legend for us, but over on the East Coast as well. Coming up next, new football uniforms and a new hockey team name. What do you like edition in primetime? Plus, there are a couple new sports programs coming out by way of television. Want to know if you're interested in either or both. We'll get to that next, along with tip-off for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. But first, Ortner has SportsCenter.
Now, from the fan.
different jerseys, whether it's a City Connect, whether it's a throwback, whether it's a futuristic, or some sort of seasonal thing like the NBA's Christmas jerseys. And often I feel like the designers or the people behind them are getting them wrong, and they're just putting something out there for someone else to buy.
They're pretty terrible.
And they're most of the time just not great. But today I woke up and saw one that went, whoa, a new jersey that looks really good. The Minnesota Vikings have come out with their Winter Warrior, which is essentially a Viking stormtrooper look, and it's awesome.
Well, you know how I feel about the whites.
Hot.
And
The color white to me just always works.
It works. Hey, man, I prefer the whites. They look great. It's the first time in Viking history they're wearing a non-purple helmet.
And I have kind of forgotten that now the NFL they're allowing that, you to have different colored helmets.
I think they've allowed 3 helmets now. They finally.
And it used to be just one. Period.
And then they went to 2, and I think now they're offering up 3, if I'm not mistaken. But you can see more full, like, throwback unis, like the Patriots helmet and like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, the one with Patriot Pat on it.
Oh, Patriot Pat on it, and the Bucks. And so yeah, they've loosened it up a little bit because they realize that people want this and they can sell them. And yeah, I thought the Vikings one looks good. I just always like the whites. I like when the Ducks do the Stormtroopers. That was always my favorite look at BYU when we went with the whites. Just look sharp.
The color white to me just always works. I just have always preferred the whites.
So they're doing white always looks classy. Like when Rick Pitino goes all white, come on, man, you look great. The old Italian mobsters. These look good. I'm pro, and they got like little like Viking kind of knot work around the collar. It looks sharp. Did a nice job.
And it's one of those things that I feel like most often when we try to update or improve uniforms, they end up being worse. And when we go back to do the throwback, they end up looking better. Yeah. This is the rare instance of trying to kind of stay modern and still looking really cool. So.
Yes, it was one of the first ones. Yes, that they went with the modern jersey and it looks sharp. Most of the time, just go with the throwback. The throwback always looks better. And I don't understand, especially in the NFL. Every NFL throwback jersey looks better than the current one. When the Patriots do the throwback, looks better. When the Niners do the throwback, looks better. The Seahawks, my God, someone tell me why the Seahawks throwback
make it the base uniform
isn't the regular uniform. Who thinks that the new one, whatever the color scheme is with the stupid triangle, who thinks that looks better than the traditional Kurt Warner, Kenny Easley Seahawk uniform? It's still Denver. Why the Denver Broncos don't go back to the John Elway D on the side of the helmet, I don't know.
Yeah, they should put John Elway's. Oh wait, what? No. You know what I want to get to though is that on the in the winter theme of things, along with the Winter Warriors, over 500,000 fan votes now for the new Utah hockey mascot.
Yeah, we got 6. We're down to 6.
We started with I think 20 names that were. I guess that they gave the kibosh to the Utah Canyons, the Frost, the Freeze, the Swarm, the Glaciers, the Powder, the Black Diamonds, the Blast.
I thought that one would be cool.
The Powder would have been awesome.
What? I thought the Black Diamonds you could do something cool with.
And I kind of like
the ski run and then I thought that would be pretty cool. The Utah Black Diamonds, that would have been badass because you got like the Golden Knights. That was my personal favorite, but apparently no go. It didn't make the final.
And because of the whole Beehive State thing, I think the Beehive State is kind of lame, but I thought the Swarm kind of had a good hockey feel to Swarm the Puck, that sort of a deal. But that didn't make the final list. We got down to 6 choices. What we have now are the Utah Blizzard, the Utah Mammoth, the Utah Outlaws, yes, really, the Utah Venom.
I think that was the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, right? I think they held up in the canyons in Utah. So I think that's where that comes from, is the history of that.
Then the Utah Yeti and Utah Hockey Club.
I actually think that one could be kind of cool. They do that with soccer, and I guess this year that they're just going to say Utah. They're not going to have a brand. They're not doing a mascot. The Smith, the guy that bought him, said that this year they're just going to have Utah. They'll pick a color scheme, I think. But they said it will just be Utah across the front, and then next season, I guess 2 seasons from now, they will do official brand. So even if they have a team name, it will not be used this year. By the way, it's going to be Mammoth or Yeti.
Yeah, I feel like the Yeti's going to be the one that ends up winning out. If it's not Hockey Club, which of those is your favorite? Blizzard, Mammoth, Outlaws, Venom, or Yeti?
The Yeti could be cool.
Will, where do you sit?
You could do good things with the Yeti or the Mammoth. But like, you listen to him talk, I've seen a couple of interviews, and you can tell. And all the fan votes, those are always the two that are up there. It'll be one of those. And I think early on they had already filed for a trademark on those two, like way before any of this stuff actually kind of came out.
I think you go Yeti just because it's kind of like the same idea with the Kraken. Like it's this mythical creature.
You kind of make it whatever you want.
There's a bunch of things you can do with it. You'll get a funny mascot out of it. Yeti seems to fit. People can't get mad at the Yeti.
Now, that brings me to one other question. Back to the NFL again. We know that the Washington Commanders have new leadership. They went from the Redskins to the Washington Football Club to the Commanders. There have been rumors that new ownership may want to change that to something else entirely.
Yes.
Should they and will they lose the Commanders for yet another team name?
I do love it. It's Josh Harris that bought it.
Yeah,
Red Hogs.
Immediately was like, dude, this is stupid. He goes, this is stupid. And normally the NFL will not allow this.
Right.
The NFL and leagues do not like you rebranding. Like it doesn't happen. I'm trying to think of the last time, like the Hornets in the NBA, but that was weird because they were getting a team
and they
back.
were like moving because of Katrina and stuff like that,
Well,
like
yeah,
relocating.
New Orleans, gave the name back to Charlotte, and they became the Pelicans. So that one was different. There was some, remember, because that was the whole Bobcats, Hornets, and back and forth.
Yeah.
And it was an expansion team.
I still can't keep up with which franchise is the original, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, well, the original Hornets are in New Orleans.
Right.
I believe. And they gave
Even though Charlotte is now the Hornets again.
Yes.
They're not the original.
They're not the
that
original
franchise.
Hornets. Like the New Orleans has that's the original Hornets team. But, they weren't using it, and Charlotte wanted it back because they did like some sort of swap-a-roo there. Because remember, they were the Bobcats, Charlotte Bobcats. The Wizards rebranded because the Bullets. You couldn't have bullets because, well, we shoot everything in our country. We just don't get many rebrands.
Titans. They were the Oilers. Then when they moved cities, they became the Titans.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, when they moved, that happened. But again, city move. I mean, that's
but then Houston got a team and they didn't get to be the Oilers. They had to be the Texans.
Yeah, they kept it. The Titans own the rights to all the Oilers,
and
stuff.
they wear all the throwbacks, which is bogus.
And it pisses off all the people in Houston.
Yes.
Which, by the way, they should have just stayed the Tennessee Oilers because it's way cooler. I mean, if the Los Angeles Lakers and the Utah Jazz can be there, you can have the Oilers in Tennessee. The Titans is dumb. And those uniforms, by the way, those are the best in the NFL. When they do the Oilers throwbacks, the powder blues, this is the best.
Better
uniform.
than the Chargers, you think?
Yes,
Okay.
It's the best uniform in football. When they go to that with the red face mask and the powder blue and the white pants,
Billy White Shoes Johnson dance.
it's the best uniform in football. The Chargers are great. The Cowboys have a good look, but it's the best uniform. I don't know why you don't do it because the Titan uniforms are garbage. But this is kind of extenuating circumstances in that Josh Harris paid like $7 billion or whatever it was for that team.
Yeah, he did.
Dude, and he's like, this is horse crap. No one likes the Commanders. Everyone thinks it's dumb. The NFL should let him change it. So I hope, because it sounds hokey. Like, I feel this way about the Cleveland Guardians. It doesn't sound like a Major League Baseball team. It just doesn't. When I hear that the Cleveland Guardians in first place, I'm like, first place of what? Like the arena football team? It doesn't feel big.
Going back doesn't always make sense. I know that there's a historic connotation or context to the Guardians, but just because it was their thing back then doesn't mean you have to go back to it now.
Yeah, there's it doesn't always work. And like this, I hope that is corrected because there's just some things that don't feel big time. And anytime I say the Washington Commanders,
doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. It feels like what's that stupid UFL going on right now? Like the Brahmas or whatever.
Yeah.
The San Antonio Brahmas.
That's what it sounds like to me.
The St. Louis Battlehawks.
Yes.
Exactly. The St. Louis Battlehawks. I'll be good and damned if I'm going to go support the Battlehawks. How dumb is did an 8-year-old come up with that? It's like when you go over to your buddy's house and you meet his cat and the cat is like Mr. Sprinkles. You're like, I know who named your cat. And it's not you. The Battlehawks. Get out of here with the Commanders. Go to the Red Hawks. Go to the Red Wolves. Do something. Come up with something that the city can be proud of as opposed to the Commanders.
And I kind of think they will, and I hope they do. Coming up next, one look behind the curtain and one nostalgic reboot. Will you watch either or both? We'll get to that next before we get to the club right here on 1080 The Fan. point lead. We'll keep watching this throughout the evening.
Celtics suck.
Yeah, well, we don't know that for sure. At least we have the one person who has told us definitively.
The Celtics are the balls.
Just wait and see. If Boston loses tonight,
It will be the sky's falling.
The sky is falling. Jason Tatum's a bum. They can't close out games. It's a whole thing. I just haven't. I don't remember a team like Boston getting this kind of coverage. A team that's been this good and this dominant from start to finish. And the moment they lose one game in a series, we start with, what's wrong with Boston?
Coming up in the club, let Sook spin the wheel, have plenty of topics for him, maybe even let Ortner dive in and pick one too. What's hot in New York this summer? Ocean predator fight, injured by a sex toy at the doctor's office. Don't go chasing waterfalls in China. Dave Grohl barbecue legend, and much, much more. But before we get to that, Sook, have you watched either Drive to Survive, Full Swing, or both?
I've seen bits and pieces of them.
Okay.
So I tried to. We had a couple of the racers on. We were doing the Indy race here in Portland, and I tried watching some of the Drive to Survive, and I don't know. It didn't quite grab me. Like, people talk about that thing like it's unbelievable. It was okay, and then I watched the first season of Full Swing, and I got through about 3 episodes, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, the first episode of that, it's made, in my opinion, it's made for the person that knows nothing about the sport.
Yeah.
They spent the first episode of Full Swing telling me about how tournaments are played. They play 4 days and there's a cut. And I was like, are we really doing this? It was, I thought it was dull as dirt. There wasn't a single guy on there that I thought had a good personality that I cared about. So I never got into either one, even though I've seen bits and pieces of the seasons.
I think there's a pretty wide spectrum now for sports documentary of what's good, what feels forced, what isn't. I mean, we used to love Hard Knocks. Now it seems like we feel like it's the same every year, and everyone's almost tired of it. I do think the subject matter and what we're able to see behind the scenes matters to a degree, and that's why I think you might be interested in this one. Amazon has announced that, so it's not Netflix who did Drive to Survive and Full Swing.
Amazon has done so. They've done these with.
Well, they did it with the in-season NFL one.
In-season NFL. They did one with the All Blacks, who's a rugby team in New Zealand. They've done different ones of these.
And now they will be approaching your favorite sport, hockey, coming out with a docu-series with unprecedented access, and it's going to follow at least 11 different players that'll be featured, including McDavid and Draisaitl, David Pastrnak, Jacob Trouba, Quinn Hughes, Matthew Tkachuk, Jack Eichel, and William Nylander. So, granted,
and by the way, if you don't know any of those,
they're
players,
all studs.
Yeah, they're all really, all really good hockey players.
You probably have 4 or 5 of the top 10.
And it says that crews are embedded with the playoff teams right now. So when this comes out, you're going to see the Panthers and Oilers players, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Tkachuk, all vying for the Stanley Cup, which when you get the full access shows and it's playoff time, not training camp,
love it.
That's a whole different thing. Now, we'll be interested to see what the access is, but I feel like hockey is one of the sports where the people around it are a little bit easier going. They're maybe not quite as restrictive as you might be around NFL or NBA players. And I don't think we know a ton about these guys who tend to have pretty interesting personalities. So I'm excited for this specific iteration of new sports docuseries.
Yeah, I love hockey, so this is going to be right up my alley. And you're right. I don't think we know a ton about individual hockey players.
It seems like they're not that popular, but for hockey fans, I think it'll be an interesting look behind the curtain.
I will love this, and I'll see what the general public thinks, because this has been my problem with these sports documentaries. And I don't know what you guys think, but I know they're made to get people interested in that sport, right? So you do Drive to Survive because you're trying to bring new fans into racing. You do Full Swing because you're trying to bring new fans into golf. I haven't liked any of the documentaries that are about sports that I don't follow, but the ones that I do follow, I really like. Although I didn't like quarterback.
Right, but like when you get like the Winter Classic 24/7, like those are awesome.
I loved them. When I watched the All or Nothing with Jim Harbaugh, I thought that was really well done. I used to love when HBO Boxing did 24/7 leading up to big fights.
Hatton, Mayweather, Pacquiao,
love that.
Marquez,
they would do like 4 or 5 episodes leading up to a big championship fight.
Those could get me to buy a fight. Those 4 or 5 episodes.
But those are all sports that I really liked. I'm trying to think. And am I the only one that
The
just
All Blacks one I thought was really good.
And-
Like
but did
that
you-
got me into rugby kind of.
Okay, so you could is it-
Enough to where at Central I would go and watch our rugby matches.
All right, well there you go. Because I same thing. I like rugby. So again, that was one that I knew about and that I wanted. I don't know if I'm just the abnormal guy. I've yet to be pulled into a sport that I didn't like by one of these docuseries. It only gets me to be more interested in the things that I like. And I know that's not what these are made for. These are made
to pull in the new fans.
These are made to pull in the new fans.
Yeah. I'm somewhere in between. I really liked Drive to Survive, but I think part of it was because it felt like Formula One was one of the only sports that I truly knew nothing about as far as format and how it all works. I liked all the storylines because it felt like I was almost reading a book, like a nonfiction book about how the sport worked and who the key figures are.
Mhm.
But it did not make me watch more races. Like I don't sit around and watch qualifying or watch F1 races. I have friends who did or after watching that series, but I'm not one of them. And the Full Swing has not moved the needle on how much golf I watch. I'm more interested in seeing what's this guy like when cameras are around because they all seem exactly the same when I watch him in a tournament. So that aspect could be interesting for me, but it also doesn't make me. I'm not watching more golf or more Formula One because of these things. And like you, when they do it for the sports I really like, that's when it enhances it the most.
Yeah, it's just it's strange. I don't know why some things grab me. Like I just think as you get older, it's hard to. And I've said this for years. I think it's hard to crack my fandom. I just there's only so much I can consume. It takes the one thing that's got me is like I go to a lot of soccer games here in me and my buddy go to, and he's got seats, and that that helps. My buddy's got these like phenomenal seats, and so we go. But when we go to the soccer games, not gonna lie, it's mostly just a vehicle to hang out. We just drink. And we hang out, and there's
there's soccer going on.
And there's soccer going on, and like we always joke because like the crowd starts booing, and we're like, what do we boo? I don't know, boo.
Yeah. When they said boo, you suck.
And so it's like, even though I go to the vast majority of Timbers and Thorns games, I don't know necessarily even if that makes me like I don't watch soccer. I don't have the Apple Plus. I watch some of the World Cup stuff, and I'm aware when there's like a Bundesliga game or whatever, but I don't watch it. And that's something that I go to. I probably watch more soccer than I do any other live sport. And it's weird, but I wasn't raised on it, and it doesn't grab me. I just think it's really, really hard to get an adult to embrace a sport unless like the NHL coming to Utah, they'll embrace that.
For sure.
Nashville, when they got a hockey team, they embraced it.
Seattle did when they got a hockey team.
Yeah. Like all this, like that's different when it's there, but just being a fan of a sport that you don't have, very, very hard to do. And I just don't think that a docu-series is gonna do that for most people. At least not in my world.
Well, it's about that time where we wrap up the sports section. By the way, the Celtics are out to a 6 or 8 point lead now, it looks like, but we are at a commercial break
They
in that.
They went on a little run there. It's they're up by 10.
Led by KP.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Porzingis
Porzingis has
doing
8.
things early.
He had a big dunk, and then it looked like he got someone in the junk and then hit a shot over him.
Well, we've got the club coming up, and among the topics, 3 things are big in New York this summer. 2 of them outbreaks, 1 of them a positive trend. We'll see if any of them interest you. Plus, Dave Grohl, barbecue legend. Who knew? It's coming up in the club on The Fan.
No time for a traditional in-ground vegetable garden? Mr. Plywood stocks all kinds of cedar for building your own raised beds, and the
now that to me, it's most jarring when I hear them all in succession. And I know that they took place with lots of time and space between them, but when you run them all together, it's just...
it's a little... It's a little
really
rough.
something.
It works a little blue sometimes. So there's always like someone that texted is like, my kid's in the car. I'm like, well, kid hears a lot worse at school.
Yep.
If you're a parent that thinks that your kid doesn't curse or hear cursing like on a day-to-day basis, I don't know what to tell you, man. Have you heard the internet? Have you seen what kids like? It's jarring. Like when you see like a group of like 5th graders and they're like they don't think any adults around. Dude, it's just like it's like a Peruvian sailor cruise out there. Just the words, like you hang around like you just like walking by a park. There's a park by my house and I'll walk my dog sometimes like on the weekend. And there's just kids just hanging out being just like punk like 12-year-olds.
Oops.
And the stuff coming out of their mouth, you're like, wow. Like, that whiny bitch. Well, I remember being a little crappy kid, but like I didn't think I became like a real I didn't start till I was like maybe like 16 where you start like thinking that you're cool. Nowadays, these little brat kids, they start like 8. The kids are the meanest thing on the planet.
They have no idea what they're saying, though.
No.
Like, I hear it as a sub from time to time. It's like, hey, you cannot say that. You definitely can't say that to your teacher. Why not? That's not an okay word to say to a teacher. Really not to your friend. What's it mean?
Yeah, like, you have an interesting perspective on that, being the substitute teacher.
Yeah.
Like, I know you can't. Well, maybe you can. I need honesty. Of the kids that you teach, if you get a class of 30 kids, be honest, you hate like 25 of them, don't you?
No, I actually enjoy most of my students.
Is it the opposite? You hate
There's
5 of them?
There's usually like, I don't hate any of my students.
Oh.
I love them all.
See,
Deep
this
down
is why-
there.
yeah,
No.
This is why I can't take Will
There
seriously.
are
I-
a couple
I
that
know
are
you can't
struggle
say it
bus.
because you got to get hired. You hate those little rat kids.
I like most of them.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, that's a load of crap. Every teacher hates their kids.
Just because you don't like children.
When I know it's a teacher just becomes some bitter burnout, and all I hear about is how crappy the kids are, and Will's like, no, I love them.
I did not say I love
That's
them.
the standard answer. Like when someone you ask about someone's wife, they're like, oh yeah, she's the best. Like you see that Instagram post, and it's like, happy birthday to the hottest guy in the world, and then it's just Dan. He's just there.
And you're sure Dan's a nice guy.
Yeah, you're like,
but
really?
anyone with 2 eyes knows Dan isn't the hottest guy in the world.
It's like the greatest lie ever told. That on every Instagram post that you have to put sexiest wife of all time. Sorry, Sue.
No
No.
one's more beautiful than him.
Yeah,
No one's more handsomer than him. No one's more beautiful than her.
Sorry, Sue. Like, he may love you more than anyone else, but no, there's people that are more beautiful to him than you are. And vice versa, Sue. You're not looking at Steve over there and thinking that he looks like Jason Momoa. Can we just have a touch of honesty in relationships? Just a scooch. Instead of lying about your husband in his white wraparound Oakley sunglasses and his soul patch, his bad Docker, pants, being super
Maybe
hot.
wearing a visor.
Yeah, that's always one of those things that I find white sunglasses and white watches jarring.
Yeah, it's very.
They were in, dude.
Like pretentious beach bro kind of a thing.
We went to Hell's Kitchen, the Gordon Ramsay place, and delightful meal, by the way. And let me just say this. Best bread pudding I've ever had. Oh my God. And the guys that I went with wouldn't shut up about it, and I love bread pudding. Bread pudding and carrot cake compete for the top of my slot.
Interesting.
When it comes to desserts. Now, carrot cake is very controversial.
I love carrot cake.
Because there's bad carrot cake, and some people don't like it. A well-done carrot cake, with a cream cheese frosting.
If it doesn't have the cream cheese frosting, I won't even touch it. But yeah.
My buddy's wife makes one that I would marry if it was legal in this state. It is so stinking good. Bread pudding is right there with me. But bread pudding also, lots of bad bread pudding.
And that's the thing is, I think I've mostly had bad bread pudding, and the consistency of bad bread pudding sucks. It's just like sloppy and spongy. It's not good.
Someone, I gotta be careful. Someone that I know found out that I like bread pudding, and so they gave it to another person that knows me. Is like, hey, I heard he's a fiend for bread pudding. They were very excited. Is the worst bread pudding I've ever had.
Oh no!
And I didn't know what to do. Because people when you give someone like your signature dish, you want to hear the feedback.
Well, and no one wants to do the pretend I like it to not hurt their feelings thing. And you're appreciative that someone went out of their way to do this, but if it's no good, it's no good.
It's so bad. It was so bad. It was unedible. Like I couldn't eat it. I had to toss it. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and then
smile through a couple of bites.
I was like, oh, this is terrible. But we went to this Gordon Ramsay place, and the bread pudding, that's where we had the beef Wellington. And delightful. It's my first beef Wellington.
Beef Wellington has one of the highest degree of difficulty to make.
Yes. And
so if someone else does it and does it well, aces.
Well, I guess this is Ramsay's like signature dish. Like he's a beef Wellington guy. It's like his passed down from his grandma. It's like what
I
he's
have
known
seen in some of
for.
his TV shows when like people are competing. It's like make the perfect Gordon Ramsay beef Wellington. Yeah.
So you got to get the beef Wellington. So we get the beef Wellington, and it was all a precursor to the bread pudding. Phenomenal. But here's my point. The waiters had like a real like, it's like they were all a member of like the Lumineers, right? They were like dressed like old timey like 1950 like newsboys. They were in like hard denim, leather suspenders, right? And like that white
really playing a part.
Yeah, playing a part like jack boots and like the white crisp shirt. You know, one of these sorts of things.
Sure.
But our waiter, I don't know why. But it's got the dark vibe going there, very kind of Vegas vibe there. And my man was rocking a white Swatch watch, and I don't know why. It threw me. It might have been the mushrooms, but I was fascinated. I could not.
The mushrooms in the Wellington.
Yeah.
The mushroom duck cell.
Those mushrooms. I was fascinated by his white watch. I couldn't stop. And I was taking a pose like, is anyone else bothered by his white watch? And I don't know why. That's just one of those weird things.
Sook looks around.
Normally I love the whites. But if you wear white sunglasses or you're wearing a white watch, boy, that is one of the tougher things to pull off, especially if you're trying to do, again, this. You can't wear leather suspenders like jack boots and then a white Swatch watch. It doesn't work. At one point I wanted to ask him, like, what's with the watch?
What are your thoughts behind this?
I was like, I wanted.
How do you make your decisions when you leave the house?
I wanted to ask the man, like, yeah, when you were putting this all together, was the white watch what kind of put it over the top? Threw me for a loop. I don't know how I got on any of that, but
bread pudding? How did we get on bread pudding?
Made me think of like the Will lying about liking kids, and then husbands and wives lying about their spouse being like super sexy.
Okay.
And whenever I see that photo, it's usually a guy wearing white sunglasses in the photo that the wife has to be like, this sexy hunk.
Vancouver Ford text line says, this is Dan listening, and I am hot, you jerk.
Damn it, sorry. I'm sure there's good-looking Dans, but we all know that we've all seen that Instagram post, every one of us, where it's like, can't you just say, hey, happy anniversary to my wonderful husband? Do you have to say to, like, the sexiest man ever?
Yes.
And then again, you look at him. And here's the thing.
He knows too. Like,
yes.
Dan's not dumb. Dan knows that you love him, but he knows that you don't think he's Brad Pitt.
I demand honesty. Like, I know if the BTJ tells me that she thinks I'm sexy, I appreciate that. If she says I'm the sexiest, then I'm like, you don't know crap. Because this is not. All right? This has a couple decent parts, then the rest is a real bag of garbage. Don't sell me on the idea that I'm the ideal man. Stop it.
Ooh, Vancouver Ford text line. My wife's bakery just made carrot cake cinnamon rolls. Oh boy. That sounds freaking fantastic.
Why isn't there one down here at the station tomorrow?
Where do we find them?
What is bread pudding?
Actually, Sook's probably better as a bread pudding enthusiast. It's basically you take bread and you soak it, right, with milk and egg, and then you bake it.
Yeah. It's like think about like a French toast kind of thing. But like I don't know, but gooier.
Yeah, it's almost like a French toast bake. Like if you like a casserole kind of. It's a baked bread casserole with like sugar, cream, egg, and bread.
Yeah, and it's when done right, it's amazing. I absolutely love it, and I'm here to tell you, Gordon Ramsay, who I'm not a big fan of, and let me also state for the record, the beef Wellington, good, but. Was it the best thing I've ever had?
Not as good as the bread pudding, apparently.
Well, and it's funny because everyone, like, this group that I went with, whenever they go there, they go to Hell's Kitchen, they get the beef Wellington. So there was a lot of talk about the beef Wellington.
Oh, I hate when this happens. I bet it was outstanding, but there was so much hype the Wellington had no chance.
Yes.
Is that right?
And we got there. Everyone ordered the Wellington. There was around the table, Wellingtons all around. And I'm here to tell you, some of the people didn't finish their Wellington.
But did they all finish the bread pudding?
They all finished the bread pudding.
See?
And so I felt like the Wellington was like the Boston Celtics. We went in with enormous expectations and it was a fine Wellington. I have nothing against it. It was my first one.
Dude, this person says also there's a carrot cake pound cake with that cream cheese swirl at a coffee shop in downtown Vancouver that I absolutely love.
Yeah, they're
We
amazing.
need a sampling of carrot cake confections, I think, here is the answer.
Yeah, carrot cake gets a bad rap.
I don't get why. It's pretty good.
Crazy.
Well, it's not pretty good. It's great.
Yes.
But even I think the floor of carrot cake is pretty high. Like, bad carrot cake isn't that bad compared to other bad desserts.
Yeah.
But
hey, right here, Vancouver Vortex. My buddy and his wife went to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant last night, had the beef Wellington, said it was fantastic.
there you go.
Again, I'm not saying that it was bad.
Now I want a beef
enjoyed the
Wellington.
Wellington, but I don't feel that I could properly judge the Wellington because it was my first one. So I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was not the highlight of the meal. But the other guys at the table that were raving about, like they couldn't wait to get the Wellington, they were all kind of, I don't know. It just didn't dominate the table. Like I thought everyone was going to eat it and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it didn't. Well, it was interesting. I thought the Wellington, you got to be careful with too much hype.
Yeah.
You got to be careful.
It's that way with movies, with music. You tell everyone it's the greatest album you've ever heard or the best thing you've seen on the big screen since whenever. It's hard to clear that bar. But since we're talking food, maybe it's time to get into Dave Grohl barbecue legends.
Yeah.
We can get into that coming
Dave
up.
Grohl can do no wrong in my book.
And as a barbecue enthusiast myself, he just went up a couple notches in mine. So we'll get to that next. You're listening to The Club on 1080 The Fan.
It's back, and it's sure to sell out
Welcome back to the club where the Celtics are shellacking the Dallas Mavericks. They finished the first quarter on a 23-5 run, and now they have a 21-point lead, 48-27.
It's the NBA. Does anyone doubt that this thing is going to be single digits when we get into the fourth quarter?
And it may very well be, but quite the start. If anyone had questions about whether the Celtics were not being challenged that much or whether they're really good, they might be really good.
Yeah, they've been good all year. Well, we're debating the best team in the NBA start to finish. Who's rolled through the playoffs? Are they good?
And are they that much better than the 5 seed that came out?
What?
Yeah. Well, we can do a little choose your own adventure. Among the things that I have for you today, Dave Grohl barbecue legend. Also have an ocean predator fight. 3 hot trends in New York this summer. Injured by a sex toy at the doctor's office. Chasing waterfalls in China. And what'll get you banned from the Sphere and other concert properties? Where do you want to go?
I'm fascinated. That is a choose your own adventure. I want to talk about Dave Grohl because I love Dave Grohl, and I trust anything that man does. In fact, I was reading his book is called Storyteller. Really, really good. And get the physical. Normally, I always do audiobooks. Get the physical copy of Storyteller because he's got like the pictures in it are great. Because he's got photos from obviously the early days when he was like in Scream and then in Nirvana. But Dave used to, in the early days, he would write his mom and sister. He would write postcards back, and he would send them to his mom and his sister. And he puts those postcards in the book, and they're amazing. Like they are. If you like Dave Grohl, you will so appreciate all these random postcards from the road as he became Dave Grohl in Nirvana and then into the Foo Fighters, and he never stopped writing them, and they're really cool.
It's kind of interesting how you hear lots about whether music or movies like stand the test of time. He's a person who's kind of stood the test of time as far as like he was cool in every era. He was cool before he was a big deal. Yeah. He's cool as a big deal. He's gonna be cool after he's not a big deal anymore. He's just like he feels like he's got that vibe that everybody really digs, and that goes into this barbecue story that I learned. I knew nothing about this hobby turned passion of Dave Grohl's. I read this from Hooked on Barbecue, and he said, when I was in Nirvana and Nevermind came out, all of a sudden I was making a ton of money, which I never had. So I bought a beach house in North Carolina, spent the entire summer in '92 there eating Carolina pulled pork from this tiny shack. I would go get a pint every day until it ran out, then I'd get another pint until that one ran out, and just pulled pork on a white bun with slaw, that was it. And then I realized, oh, this barbecue, it's so simple and sublime, but also complex. Well, I broke my leg falling off the stage during a Foo Fighters show 4 years ago. When I got off tour, I had nothing to do but mess around with my big green egg that our bassist Nate got me. I went on YouTube, I watched some guy. The first thing I tried was ribs because that's what the Chili's commercials were always talking about. I got the dry rub, I hit him with the smoke, I served them to my kids. They loved them. Everyone only got 1 or 2 ribs, and I said, well, I'm going to do it again tomorrow, and I was hooked. He says most musicians are obsessive-compulsive weirdos, whether it's with the instrument they play, an arrangement, or composition. You're always trying to one-up the thing you've just done or perfect it or get to that place where you're playing your instrument but not actually thinking about it. And it's kind of the same with food. For me, the parallels are insane. So after a few months, I was hosting parties for 50 to 75 people with my barbecue. The green egg was no longer big enough, so I got myself a cabinet smoker, then a Lang trailer rig from Georgia. I was doing briskets, pork butts. At this point, friends were saying, Dave, this is really good. You need to open a restaurant. And I'm like, I know, but that kind of sounds like a job. So what really got me cooking for crowds were the Malibu fires. I wanted for everyone around who was displaced to have something to eat. I ended up barbecuing hundreds of pounds of meat, bringing care packages to fire stations just to say thank yous. Those guys were heroes. And that's when I had the idea for my company, Backbeat Barbecue. It's a one-man catering company. Didn't want to open a restaurant, but I do want to be able to pull up to a Slayer show or a Harley dealership or a church in LA or a food bank and just cook. It's kind of cool that I'm able to do that, and it's effing fun. The process of making music is a lot like cooking for a crowd. You create a recipe as you would with a song, you prepare a meal as you would a record in the studio, and you serve it as you would perform it live. And when people come back for seconds, well, that's your encore.
See, again, let me just state for the record, coolest man in rock
Isn't that
and roll,
awesome?
Dave effing Grohl. One of the biggest rock stars and he wants to serve people barbecue.
Well, and it starts because he loves barbecue, but then instead of thinking, how do I make this work for me? How do I make this help other people? Oh, by the way, my pulled pork is really effing good.
If I could choose like one celebrity to hang out besides the ghost of Steve McQueen, I think it'd have to be Dave Grohl. Everything I read about that guy, everything I see about that guy, like there's just like a million different little stories where I'm like, dude, that guy is awesome. They were doing a thing on, he made an album called Sonic Highways. Mm-hmm. And you can still find him. It's HBO. And so they did, he did 10 or 12 songs. I forget how many are on the album. But he would go to a city and he would spend a week in the city and he would write a song. And it was based on, like, he did one on New Orleans. He went to New Orleans. And he would record in this old, whatever historical recording studio. He did one in Nashville, did one in New York. And he would write a song about that city and walk around, and they filmed it. And they made a documentary about it. It's really cool.
I remember seeing details about that or talk about that when it came out, but I never checked it out.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing to check out. And some people like the album, some people don't. I really did. I thought it was cool that it was this theme album, and each song has a characteristic of the city that it was written and performed in. And he said it was a lot of pressure because you're only there for a week. So you had to like write this thing. It's, that's kind of a crazy thing to write, produce, and get a song done in a week.
Yeah, that's a tough turnaround, even for someone really talented like that.
But I think it was the New Orleans one, but it might be the Nashville one. Again, it's been a while. This was many, many years ago they did this. But they're in this recording studio, this historic recording studio, and it was really hot. There's no AC in it. Some of these studios were tiny. And the door is open, and these people come walking by, and there's like a kid, I want to say he's maybe 10 or 12, and he was wearing a Foo Fighters shirt. And he was walking by, and Dave Grohl was smoking a cigarette. And looks at the parents, looks at his kids like, hey, you guys like the Foo Fighters? And I don't think the kid fully realized it right away, but the dad did. And they're like, Dave's like, hey, you want to come in? And like, they're not doing this because there's a million stories like that. He's not doing it because they're filming it.
Right.
He just thought it was cool that he was smoking a cigarette, and this kid walked by, and he brings the kid and the parents in, and they sit and watch him do their thing. He lets the kid like play the drums, and there's a million stories like that about Dave Grohl doing stuff. And it's just, in a world of so many douchey celebrities, from the Prince of I'm refusing to play with the lights on, or like Bob Dylan, refusing to play any of his old songs because that's not what he's into anymore. Who is it? Lauryn Hill, that refuses to go on until she's ready.
Right.
They'll let the crowd wait for hours and hours.
Even like Dave Chappelle, who if he's annoyed for a late night comedy set, he'll go for 3 or 4 hours just to like make people uncomfortable about leaving.
And to see someone who's as big as you can basically be in his genre of music, and then just be genuinely a good person and a cool dude, I freaking love that.
Well, that's what I like, is that it seems like in the stories like the one you told, or in this anecdote here about barbecue, it's way less about doing something for himself that is awesome, and doing something that he thinks is awesome for somebody else, and creating little moments, creating little memories. I think people, celebrities, athletes who have staying power are the ones who are really good at creating these tiny little moments and experiences that people say, I remember when I was at that show and he pointed at me or whatever. But like the other things that you can do outside of that, my kid was wearing a t-shirt one time and he brought him into the studio. I mean, that's somebody who gets it.
Yeah, just go read go get the book. There's a lot of really cool stories. There was one where they met Pantera, and Pantera owns a strip club down in Dallas.
Okay.
And I guess it's like legendary. So him and Taylor, the late Taylor Hawkins, road trip from, like, Dave was driving from California to Virginia. And this is where he lives. And I love the idea of Dave didn't fly or hire a driver. Him and his drummer, best friend, drove from California to Virginia. And they decided to make their way down to Dallas because they wanted to hang out with Pantera at their strip club.
Sure.
And so they drive all down there, and Dave lost his wallet at a gas station somewhere along the way, and they wouldn't let him in because they didn't have ID. And Dave was like, no, like, Pantera invited me. Like, and they're like, yeah, everyone is invited by Pantera.
Sure.
They wouldn't. Dave drove all the way to the Pantera strip club, and they wouldn't let him in because he didn't have ID.
My God.
And then like 10 years later, Somehow someone got a hold of him. Someone found his wallet at the gas station and it kept it for years and years.
Because they just thought it was like a cool thing to have. They thought he'd never be back for it or
They
something?
just had it, and they didn't know how to get a hold of Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the line, they got a hold of it, and Dave got his wallet back years later. Credit cards, license, all that stuff still in it. And you know, it just ended up like meeting that person. There's
Amazing.
That's why it's called Storyteller. Couldn't recommend it enough. Dave Grohl, coolest man in rock and roll.
I will definitely be checking that out. Coming up next on the club, we have plenty more options for Choose Your Own Adventure. See if Suk or Ortner want to jump in with a topic here. We'll get to that next, but first, Will has the Sports Center update.
Now, from
signature, we had the Dave Grohl Barbecue Legend. Couple other options to choose from. 3 hot trends in New York this summer.
All right, I'm going to go there.
Okay.
I'm always interested in what's... I'm fascinated by anything that's trendy.
So maybe this is a little misleading. I don't know if I should have said trends. There are 3... whether you call them trends, epidemics, movements, growths, there's 3 things that are happening that are significant this summer.
I'm intrigued. Like, when stuff becomes like culturally significant, it blows me away. Because there's no real definition on why it happens. Think about all of whether it's, remember those little stupid fidget spinner things that people had?
Oh, yeah.
Those are still big in the streets.
Are those still big? The kids, they're still loving that. Or like a style, like short shorts are back now.
Okay, so this is
some short shorts.
I will tell you, this is not. None of these are fashion trends. One of these is a social trend.
All right.
One is, let's see. One is an insect migration trend, and the other is a spreading of a fungus that you don't want. That sort of a trend.
I don't want fungus. There's nothing worse. Like, because I roll around on mats a lot. You get.
Like MRSA and stuff like that.
Dude, some of that stuff is nasty. You see some, you're getting ready to roll with someone, and you look at him, you're like, I don't think so, bud. I don't know what the hell you got going on there on your neck, but get it the hell away from me.
The first trend that I saw New Yorkers need to be aware of is the giant venomous Joro spiders that are coming to New York City.
Oh, I don't like that one. Why are spiders coming to New York City?
Great question. They have 4-inch legs, and they're potentially set to invade the New York area sometime this year, maybe even this summer.
What is the name of this thing?
Joro spiders, Joro.
Oh, yeah, Joro spiders.
And so it says that they're...
that is right. That is right the F out.
Coming to the Northeast after initially infiltrating southeastern U.S. from Japan.
No, dude. It's like the size of the palm of your hand, and it's got yellow stripes. No, F that thing.
And so people have said, well, maybe cockroaches in New York, when you turn the lights on, they scatter. They're like, these things don't move for anything. Now, it doesn't seem like they're aggressive necessarily and going to be coming after people, but they might just be around in NYC.
I don't like, someone says they're harmless to people and reluctant to bite. That from some Penn State nerd. I don't think so.
So for that reason, they're telling people you don't need to be alarmed. But if you look at those things, there is plenty of reason to be alarmed.
There's no way you could not be alarmed. There's just no way. Dude, that thing is enormous. Mm-hmm. And you know that thing's
4-inch legs. They fly.
Yeah, it flies. Because they jump and that is right out. You tell me you're in the car and you see that thing coming down and it jumps at you, I'm crashing.
The theory behind their migration is unintentional transport by way of cargo ships.
Burn the whole thing down.
I guess. It's unclear exactly how they got to America, but the consequences of their arrival are becoming increasingly evident, according to a New Jersey pest control service.
Great. So now they're unchecked. They're not supposed to be here. It's an unchecked. This is like how the pythons took over southern Florida.
David Coyle of the University of Clemson says that this spider is going to be able to inhabit most of the eastern United States.
As long as it stays over there.
Stay over there.
Stay over there.
Yeah.
Don't do the murder hornets where you come over here.
It shows that their comfort area in their native range matches up very well with North America, barring some unforeseen circumstances. We expect a range of these things to continue expanding, likely to the north. We've already seen that with some populations in Maryland.
No good.
So that's just one of the trends coming to New York.
It's very alarming, by the way, when you see a new spider or something that you don't it just appears in your house. Everyone sees the normal house spider.
Well, and you see the same type of spider over and over again, no big deal.
But every now and then you see that new son of a bitch, and you're like, I don't know.
Where did you come from?
Yeah, I don't like it
at all. Your family
all.
Setting up shop on the block somewhere?
Not one bit. Every now and then we just see one, and we got the jumping spiders started showing up at our place.
Ugh.
And you ever see you go to squish one, and it takes off. It jumps, and it'll jump over you. You go to squish it with the paper, and it jumps over your hand. I don't like it. But they're starting to creep up, and I don't know where they came from. But they weren't there a year ago, and now they are. Not happy.
Yeah, it says the Joro spider's predatory nature may decrease native insect populations and could cause a ripple effect throughout the ecosystem for humans and particularly residents of the area. They said that they understand fear and apprehension, but their venom is typically not deadly to humans.
Yeah, not deadly, but that doesn't mean that it's
But
like,
when bit can cause discomfort and allergic reactions.
I don't like it. I'm sorry. I see that thing, I kill it on the spot. 100%. Because most of the time outdoors, I live and let live. That's how I operate. The bug comes inside and you're in my world. It's over. There is no quarter given. Like, I have a clear line of demarcation. But if I'm outside, I'm sitting around.
When they come into your house, it's a different story.
I'm sitting around the fire. I'm sitting around, I'm in the hot tub, whatever, and you come, whatever, right? I'm in your territory, Jack. You come in my house, we're dead. But I will make an exception. If I see that thing on my garbage can, it's dying. I am not leaving that alone. That is, and I hate to say it, whether it's poisonous or not, the look of that thing, it's got to die. 100%. I see a swarm of that thing, or a bunch of them, whatever you call it, a group of spiders, dead on the spot.
Are there any like insect, bug, spider type things though that instantly when you see them I have to kill it? Because that's how I view most of those types of
like I said, if I'm outside and I see a normal spider, whatever, it's outdoors spider. One can even be walking by and I won't even step on it. I'm like, whatever, man. You go do your little spider thing.
Well, once we're clear of the spiders, health experts in New York are warning of a highly contagious fungal strain of a sexually transmitted ringworm, first reported in the U.S. by a New York City man in his 30s. So apparently we can now give each other ringworm through doing it, and that may be something that spreads quickly around the New York area.
Why is New York this hotbed of
that's where this first one
sex worms and poisonous spiders?
That's where this first case of it popped up, so they think that's where it's most likely to spread. It says that the man in the new case study had visited England, Greece, and California, reported having relations with men during his travels, none of whom disclosed similar skin issues.
Wait, do you get the ringworm on the, the cash and prizes?
It sounds like it. So since patients...
I wouldn't know.
Well, look, I'll be honest. I get ringworm from time to time. Again, you're on mats.
Where?
usually on my arm or on my leg. It was actually bad when we went down to St. Lucia. We were on the airplane, and I was wearing a pair of shorts, and the BTJ looks over at me, and she goes, "Oh, my God." I was like, "What?" She goes, "Do you have ringworm on your leg?" And I looked down, and I was like, "Crap."
Maybe.
It's like right by my knee. I was like, "Son of a gun." So I had to go find an antifungal. And by the way, it's not worms. In case you didn't know, ringworm is not worms. It's a fungus. They just call it ringworm because it grows in a circle.
It doesn't always grow as a circle. Sometimes you don't realize you have ringworm until a year or two later.
I've only noticed the circle, but every time I get it, I get made fun of. It's gross.
Yeah, this here they say can often be confused with eczema and may delay treatment. So,
but you're getting ringworm on your you're getting ringworm on the old ball bag there.
Yeah, well, and maybe on the and usually used for output as well.
Oh my goodness!
So,
you got a noose ringworm?
Quite possibly.
Do you have to then tell your do you have to ask your significant other to look? You're like, "Hey, honey, I'm going to need you to come here for a second."
Is this circular in motion?
I will say that is one of the benefits of the long-term relationship is you do have someone that you can force to look at things. You're like, "I'm sorry, but I can't see this, and I'm going to need you to spread, and I'm going to need you to look. I need you to get the phone light in there. I got to have you check this out because I may or may not have anal ringworm."
And we better hope that the spiders don't scare us away from having house guests and that the ringworm doesn't keep us away from having relations, because also a trend in New York this summer, they're saying it could be the summer of the threesome.
Oh.
I did hear this news.
Apparently, the movie Challengers that has come out with Zendaya. Is it Zendaya?
Zendaya, yeah. She's like a hot young tennis star, and then she's got young tennis star boyfriends.
She has a threesome in the movie. They're thinking this may move the needle for similar age groups in the metropolis. And that,
what does it say about the mid-40s? Who's inspiring us?
So let's see. Upper East Side resident Ruby Archibald, 27, said, "I wonder if it's drilling threesomes into our subconscious about the movie, which has already grossed $80 million at the box office."
Interesting.
So I don't know that a film can kick off a whole movement of threesomes, but you know what? If it does, good for that film.
God bless it. I had no idea. I've never even heard of this movie. Is this a movie I should be watching?
I mean, maybe if you want to see this threesome.
Got to be careful because chances are this movie sucks. I was once tried to rope into watching Bridgerton because I was
My wife watched the first season.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I'm not watching Bridgerton. And my gal was like, hey, there's a lot of sex scenes in it. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, I guess they were like super hot sex scenes.
But
and
was it like stuffy British sex though?
It was the worst thing I've ever seen. First off, no one's attractive in that show, except for the one dude, which does nothing for me. There's like one handsome black guy. It's like the worst thing. That was one of the worst sex scenes of all time. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful about watching something simply because there's supposed to be a hot scene. But if you got a three-way that's like causing some sort of trend in New York, I might have to put this on the old Netflix queue.
Yeah, it says here that mainstream culture is finally making it comfortable enough to give visibility to some of the innermost desires, including this.
Will getting ready to plan his next vacation to the Upper East Side of New York.
Yep, there we have Greenpoint resident Emily Kelly says, I'm new to threesomes. My first one was about a month and a half ago.
Well, God bless whoever the hell came up with this. See, again, this is fascinating to me that, like, a movie can start a trend.
Spiders, sexual ringworm, and threesomes. That's what you have in store for you in the Big Apple this summer.
Go to New York, people.
Well,
all right.
Maybe not.
Well, Will, you're going to go to Vegas first, and maybe similar things will happen there. We will wrap up the club next on The Fan. I will make Will jump into this Choose Your Own Adventure, as we've already covered the New York Trends and Dave Grohl. Still got plenty left to cover both the end of the show and tomorrow. You listen to Primetime on 1080 The Fan. Just moments away from recruiting with Andrew Nemec, I see our college and high school football expert alongside Ortner in the other room. Will, it's your turn to dive into the Choose Your Own Adventure as we wrap up the club here. Still plenty of topics on the board today for you. We have ocean predator fight, injured by a sex toy at the doctor's office, don't go chasing waterfalls in China, or what'll get you banned from the sphere.
I want to go waterfalls because I think the sex toy needs more to chew on, so I'll leave that for tomorrow.
Good call.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I found a story on internet that apparently the tallest waterfall in all of China that they have been flexing and telling tourists about is fake.
Is this like when they dressed up the fake like sun bears?
A little bit. It says Chinese officials are forced to apologize after a hiker got all the way to the top of Yuntai Mountain waterfall and saw that there was a pipe feeding water out of the hillside. It's a 1,000-foot waterfall.
See right here.
There are two pipes so they can make it appear as though the water flow is changing depending on conditions and wind and what. And I guess they just thought nobody would make it all the way up there to say, hey, you guys made this happen.
Is this like how they're building an island right now
maybe.
by Taiwan?
I don't
is
know.
that what they're doing? They're
Yeah,
just building their own
They're
landmarks?
building an island. They're doing some. I forget what they're like how they're doing it, but they are building islands closer to Taiwan.
So they can say it's Chinese again.
Yeah.
It's China.
Boy,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Look,
They just try to pull a fast one with I guess landscape tourism.
I'm not taking shots at the Chinese. In fact,
You'd be smart not to.
Quite frankly, I'm kind of impressed. I love that the Chinese government just does whatever they want. They just don't.
It's so bold and brazen.
It is. And like they're like you can't believe anything.
And so what do they have to do? Sorry.
Yeah, you can't
What do you
believe
want?
anything that comes out of China. Think about how many people are in China, and I don't believe there's not a single thing that you could tell me that came from China, like in a news story, that I'd be like, yeah, I believe that. It's because what they're faking a waterfall. Why? And some of the stuff is so stupid. Remember, like when it was COVID, they're like, no, we don't have COVID. They're like, dude, that's a city of like 12 million people, and it's right. No, there's no cases there. Not a single one. No, we did. Okay. We did the count. There's 4. Like everything that comes out of that is a hunk of crap. And by the way, if you disagree with it, you go away, and then you come back like a month later. You're like, I would just like to say that I was wrong.
And it's not even AI. It's real fake waterfall. It's not like an internet dupe. It's like a real life dupe.
I'm kind of impressed.
I am too.
Can we, can we bolster our waterfalls here? Quite frankly, I feel like our waterfalls here, I know this is going to be sacrilegious, they're not that great.
Leave a little to be desired.
Two thumbs, meh.
Well, once you've been around the block a little bit and you've seen other waterfalls, not saying ours aren't great.
Says a social media post from officials on Yuntai Mountain Geopark said, I didn't expect to meet everyone this way. As a seasonal scenery, I can't guarantee that I will be in my most beautiful form every time you come to see me. I made a small enhancement during the dry season so I would look my best to meet my friends. This is a supposed post from the waterfall.
Yes, gaslight. It is time to now gaslight and say you've always been big or you've always changed. Gaslight.
One user said it's not respecting the natural order and not respecting the tourists.
What if you found out? I've never been to the top of Multnomah Falls. I don't know. What if you found out that our beloved Multnomah Falls
was fake?
What if you found out? Yeah, I don't know. What if you found out there was a pipe?
My life would change forever.
Would
I'd be forever changed.
What if the biggest, most impressive things in nature just weren't real?
Well, I mean, it is real. It is a water.
Right, but what wasn't real as it's been described?
Does it take away the enjoyment? If I told you that I could give you 2 times the water at Multnomah Falls, but it was this is like baseball. I'm just going to put, because Multnomah Falls is natural, but what if I piped in, extra water and I made it on steroids, and now instead of that one kind of trickle of water, we had 3 times the width. Would you not show up to Multnomah Falls because you can't see it? You can't see the top.
You're talking about waterfall PEDs here is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
You give it Androl?
Wouldn't you think it's on trend? If I gave a bunch of trend to Multnomah Falls, wouldn't that make Multnomah Falls, wouldn't it make it cooler? Wouldn't it make it more popular, or would people protest because they know that the falls are on PEDs?
Portlanders would be so furious.